Chapter 992. As he spoke, Zhao Hanzhong appeared to be confident. His eyes moved back and forth between Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not say anything. They only looked at Zhao Hanzhong with a smile on their faces. Princess Jincheng felt that the atmosphere was a bit stifling. She asked, "Cuckoo, they are about to start the military election. Why don't you agree immediately?" Zhu Zan explained, "Because it's past midnight, it's tomorrow. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo must have worked hard to welcome us. They haven't rested yet. In a while, they will arrange a place for us to rest. They are going to compete tomorrow. They are looking for the right opportunity." Ah! Princess Jincheng opened her mouth in surprise. When she looked at Zhao Hanzhong, her eyes were unkind. This is too evil. How can you take advantage of others? Zhao Hanzhong was stared at by everyone. He lowered his head and whispered, Why don't we wait a little longer? When we came, the generals said that military matters are extremely urgent. If we don't move, we will lose the initiative. I will go back and tell them that we will compete tomorrow afternoon. How can you be like this? We came from afar and were welcomed outside the capital. You find an opportunity to scheme against us. What do you want us to do? Do you want us to constantly blame ourselves for implicating Xiao Bao and Cuckoo? Princess Jincheng angrily questioned. Tang Puzan, who was being hugged by Zhang Xiaobao, did not know what was going on. But since his mother was angry, he was also angry. He stared at Zhao Hanzhong. No, I don't mean that. Zhao Hanzhong shook his head vigorously. He continued to discuss. Wait for 2 days. 2 days. What do you think, Military Governor Wang? Not bad. Before the battle, you plan against the enemy. Good strategy. Wang Wan smiled and praised. Zhao Hanzhong felt that this sentence was very harsh. Wang Wan continued, There's no need to wait. Once we enter the city, we will immediately start the military election. The military matters are extremely urgent. Huh? It was Zhao Hanzhong's turn to be dumbfounded. When they came out, the generals had just rested for less than an hour in order to study this plan. It was estimated that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had to accompany Ancestor Cheetah. Even if they heard about the military selection and immediately went to rest, they would not be able to sleep well. However, he did not expect that Wang Wan would directly compete with him. If the generals slept for 2 hours, it would be better if they did not sleep just now. Right now, they were sleeping comfortably. If they got up and put on their clothes, they probably would not even have time to wash up. The generals just fell asleep, Zhao Hanzhong said. In an extremely urgent situation, when faced with an emergency, one should not move. If the army is negligent, one will lose the initiative. Princess Jincheng reacted and repeated Zhao Hanzhong's words with a smile. Zhao Hanzhong slapped his forehead and said, Oh my God, this is so tough. As expected, those who plan to win should plan first. Our opponents are Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. Why didn't I think of this? Haha. When Li Longji heard this, he suddenly laughed and said to Zhao Hanzhong, Since that's the case, I ask that the generals not delay the military plans. This emperor will also go. Wasn't the location chosen at the Hibiscus Garden? In an hour, this emperor will wait there for the generals to arrive. Turning back, Li Longji asked Ancestor Cheetah, Do you want to rest or go together? You don't have to go to the post house or the foreign affairs office to rest. Let Xiao Bao send people to arrange for you to stay in the Joy residence. As for the others, except for the servants, the rest of you will be stationed in the barracks outside the city. Ancestor Cheetah glanced at Princess Jincheng and said, I will go to the Hibiscus Garden. This servant will bring people to stay in the Joy residence first. When I am tired, I will come back. Princess Jincheng nodded. If it was just their family, they could all go to the Hibiscus Garden. However, there were many attendants, guards, and tubo specialties that would follow them. Someone had to stay and take care of them. Reaching out to take the child who was still reluctant to leave Zhang Xiaobao's arms, Princess Jincheng said, Husband, you can go by yourself. I will arrange everything. I think that the people in Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's families can do it well. Ancestor Cheetah touched his son's head and said with relief, Of course. Who doesn't know that the inner courtyard of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family in Sanshui County of the Tang Dynasty is the most intimate? When your son is hungry, remember to ask someone to arrange food. The group of people just entered the city and went on with their own business. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan sped up and rushed to the hibiscus garden. Li Longji, ancestor cheetah, and the others also followed. Zhang Xiaobao followed an order from the inner courtyard. The inner courtyard immediately rushed to the mansion at the fastest speed to go back to get things. The most anxious person was Zhao Hanjiang. It was impossible for all the generals to sleep together. They all returned to their own manors and families. He could only send out a large group of people to spread the news, telling the generals who were sleeping to get up quickly, and those who were not asleep to come out directly. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan arrived at the hibiscus garden first, they took a hot bath and let the people in the inner courtyard massage them to relax. Some of the generals were cursing and swearing. Some were walking on the road with ugly expressions. And some were being carried to the hibiscus garden by their family members in a daze. No one dared to delay. The emperor had said that it would be an hour, so it must be an hour. Otherwise, it would be delaying the military. When they arrived at the entrance of the hibiscus garden, they met many people. They accused and scolded each other, saying that the other person's idea was not good. They did not admit that they also participated in it. All the generals had arrived. Sure enough, in less than an hour, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's people also arrived. They ordered the people who went back to deliver a large stack of paper. With a single glance, one could tell that it was printed material. They were currently distributing it. Everyone on either side of the two was given a thick stack. There was even a sticky note on the top to make it easy to read. Li Longji asked for a stack and read it together with Zhu Zan and Gao Lishir. There were names written on the sticky notes. The first name was Zhang Shogui. Li Longji flipped open the topmost sheet, which was used to prevent abrasion, and revealed the contents. General Zhang Shogui, rich in military experience and quick wit. He is adept at using opportunistic tactics to break the enemy. With him taking the lead and attacking first, his attacks are bound to be sharp. In order to achieve his goal, he can circle around the enemy's army and throw the enemy's formation into disarray with one strike. However, he has plenty of offense, but not enough defense. He has plenty of courage, but not enough stability. In the face of an unexpected situation, he has a poor grasp of the overall situation. He is good at joint attacks and surprise attacks. Savant's Pavilion gives out 500 strings of string of coins for free. He has been there many times to eat. He likes to eat mutton and drink strong wine. When the strong wine is served, he drinks it from a small cup. Thus, he has a strong personality and is attentive to details. Give him a voucher. When he buys our goods, find someone to bargain with him. Even though he knows the price, he continues to lower the price. When he is not willing to sell, he will turn around and leave. If he is not willing to sell, he will turn around and buy again at the lowest price we just agreed on. This shows that he is conceited and full of schemes. If you encounter him, you can use a small scheme to lure him into the trap. Then, you can beat him at his own game and find a loophole to break through. After breaking through, you can use a small scheme to trick him again. After that, you can surround him and force him to defend, leaving 3 loopholes for him to break out of the encirclement. Then, you can delay the attack and disrupt the overall strategy of the generals. Li Longji and the other 2 read. Even before it finished, they all shivered. Why, Your Majesty, there's more at the end. Gao Lishir reminded Li Longji to turn the page. Li Longji was not in a hurry to turn the page. Instead, he looked at Zhu Zan. Zhu Zan happened to look at him at the same time. He swallowed twice and said, "At that time, Tubo did not complain at all. This should be written by Xiaobao. I understand now. Cuckoo is in charge of the military formation, while Xiaobao is in charge of the enemy general's likes and dislikes." That's right. I was puzzled at that time. Li Longji raised his head and looked at Zhang Shogui, who was yawning not far away. He shook his head and said, I was puzzled as to why Xiao Bao and Cuckoo became so generous and specially gave free vouchers and vouchers to the generals. So that's why. Truly, there is no good wine and no good banquet. When Zhu Zan heard Li Longji's words, he thought of the pair of hawksbill turtles that he had received earlier. Those things were indeed valuable, but they were definitely not a good gift. In the future, he would have to take care of them carefully. He would probably have to find water that was similar to seawater and raise them until they were fully grown. When that time came, he would probably not be able to continue staying in Tubo. He would have to take the money and find another place to live a good life. If he really did not have enough money, he could sell one and it would be enough for several lifetimes. Looking at the report, Zhu Zan suddenly thought of something and said, if that's the case, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's intelligence network is extremely fast and detailed. They probably have people in all kinds of industries. When Li Longji heard this, he paused for a moment and said, that's right. Their intelligence network is even more powerful than the Great Tang's. It's so powerful that they know what I eat, where I sleep, and what I say every day. The more it is like this, the more at ease I feel. If someone wants to scheme against me, they will know. Even if someone breaks into the palace, they will find the right place to rescue me. Who would dare to poison me? I probably don't know. They have already made a move. Isn't that right, Lisher? Gao Lisher quickly said, Your Majesty, you are more or less right. Sometimes I will also leak information to them. For example, when the small countries in the southwest send tributes, I will first tell them what the tributes look like, and let them see if they can hurt Your Majesty. Also, when the Imperial Kitchen cooks new dishes, such as the dishes learned from the Savant's restaurant or Xiao Bao, I will carefully compare them. If the Imperial Kitchen cooks the dishes themselves, I will also tell Xiao Bao and let him see if long-term consumption is bad for the body. When Zhu Zan heard the conversation between the two of them, he knew that there was a misunderstanding. Perhaps they wanted him to sow discord. He was wronged. He did not mean that. At the same time, he inwardly sighed. It seemed that the other party's plan to sow discord was not going to work. The two of them had spoken too clearly. They did not guard against Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. This was especially so when it came to Gao Lisher. He dared to admit that he had leaked information, and he had even taken the initiative to do so. Li Longji acted as if this was a matter of course. This was not just pampering, but pampering. For a moment, Zhu Zan regretted what he had just said. Perhaps Xiao Bao and Cuckoo would soon hear about it. What would the two of them think? Zhu Zan opened his mouth to explain, but he helplessly gave up. The more he tried to explain, the worse the situation would become. He could only hope that Xiao Bao and Wang Chong would be magnanimous and not make a fuss. Li Longji did not continue to say anything. He raised his hand and casually flipped to a page. The label on this page said Jia Shishun. The page he turned to was the third page written about Jia Shishun. It said, Jia Shishun, good at defense. His defense is almost impregnable. If you encounter him, you should take a detour and make him lose his strategic position. If he leads an army to attack, you should meet him head-on. Force him to defend and set his position. Cooperate with others to isolate his army. He likes to drink wine, but he does not like to drink light dishes or a small plate of nuts. He can also drink 2 caddies of wine himself. His appetite is heavy. He is willing to eat salty food. He likes to eat noodles as his staple food. He always has to use his chopsticks to circle the noodles twice before slowly putting them into his mouth. This shows that he has a lot of thoughts and does not like to move forward. On the way to Jili Prefecture, the generals carried out a sand table simulation. In autumn, Jia Shishun led 1,500 men to guard an important mountain peak. He arrived first and ordered his men to cut down trees and pile them on the mountain. He also dug a hole and filled it with water. At that time, the enemy was a young general, Wang Zhongxi, less than 20 years old, leading 10,000 men. They surrounded him and attacked first. Jia Shishun looked down from above and threw stones. After a long time, the attack failed. He attacked with fire. However, Jia Shun had ordered his men to cut down trees. The fire was not strong enough to reach the top. Jia Shun then ordered his men to take off their clothes and wet their faces. He also ordered his men to light the smoke and take advantage of the wind to smoke the enemy's encirclement. The troops at the bottom of the wind were in chaos. He ordered his men to beat the drums to make a strong attack. The enemy at the bottom of the wind was alert with the smoke, but he ordered his men to cover their faces with wet cloth and quietly went down the mountain to attack the enemy smoke. The enemy slacked. He killed countless and returned to the top of the mountain. 10 days later, the young general, Wang Zhongxi, led his troops to retreat. He lost 3,000 men and delayed the opportunity. Therefore, when he encountered Jia Shun, he defended and did not attack. He attacked and forced him to defend. Finished reading. Li Longji and the other two looked at each other in dismay. Your Majesty, when you went to Jili province to play, did you take the sand table with you? Zhu Zuzan asked. He knew that Li Longji went to Jili province because he heard Li Longji's story. But he did not know that Li Longji took the sand table with him. Not only did I take it with me, the entire third floor of the ship was used to calculate the sand table. At that time we agreed that there would be a military expedition on the way. The generals could not wait any longer. Who would have thought that as soon as we boarded the ship, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo kept talking to me about national policy and all kinds of strategies. I was confused listening to them. Later on, when I finally understood, the ship had arrived at the destination, so there was no need to compare. Tell me, how could I not listen? Is national policy more important, or is the military expedition more important? When it came from Xiao Bao's mouth, how could I not be 120% alert? Also, when it came from the two of them, not only did I have to listen, I also had to ponder. If the generals wanted to carry out the military selection, who would dare to come and interrupt the two's plan, one after another? They were often busy until dawn. They were working so hard, yet they still forced them to carry out a military expedition that was not considered too important. What was the meaning of this? Do you want to harm the country and the people? Li Longji roughly told Zhu Zuzan about what happened on the ship. He imitated Zhang Xiaobao and spread out his hands. That's why we can't compare. Then, the generals should familiarize themselves with it first. Who knew that the attack and defense records of their sand table were also taken by Xiaobao to study? Do you know how happy I was at that time? The two of them supported me to go on a trip. They would rather pay for me to see the scenery over there. At the same time, they also asked me to help them get the Xinhua people to join the Tang Empire and form a county. At that time, I was already very impressed. Xiao Bao was indeed different. A plan within a plan, a chain of plans. I went out for a stroll and there were so many benefits. It was not a wasted trip. I did many things and learned many things. But you only realized today that his plan had not been revealed, right? Zhu Zuzan asked Li Longji with a sympathetic look. Yes, no wonder when they came back, they had a military and civilian reunion. It was to delay. After so many days, I reckon that Xiao Bao had already studied all the generals. A bunch of fools. They still want to scheme against Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. Let's see what will happen when the two armies are set up tonight. Today, I have seen it for myself. Attacking from the outside is not based on the soldiers. Victory in a war is not only about the military, but also other auxiliary and calculations. Li Longji shook the paper in his hand that had information written on it. His gaze swept across the generals who had yet to recover. Zhu Zuzan nodded emotionally. Yes, sometimes people will die if they don't fight at close quarters. Cuckoo is a sharp knife. When she really moves, it will definitely dye the mountains and rivers red. Xiao Bao is a poison that kills without a trace. When he has the help of the knife, he can do many things secretly. In the end, people realized that not many people actually died under the knife that needed to be guarded against at all times. The poison is the most vicious. It is colorless and tasteless, and it kills the throat upon seeing blood. One plays an open scheme and can meet force with force at any time. The other plays a conspiracy and will constantly pester you. I really don't understand how the two of them can be together. Why the two of them? Sigh. Why in my Tang Empire, right? My luck is good. Wait a while more. I really can't bear to let the people who just arrived carry out the military selection immediately. It's too much of a bully, even though they asked for it. Li Longji said happily. He was a virtuous emperor. Otherwise, how could he have Xiao Bao and Cuckoo help him? Who was the one who said that he wanted to suppress them? Who said a lot of bad things and hated that he couldn't kill the two families? Who were they? He would deal with them one by one later. While the three of them were feeling sad for the generals, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan finished their massage. They were in high spirits, smiling modestly and peacefully, and came to the resting place of the generals. The generals were continuously drinking tea to refresh themselves. Xiao Bao Cuckoo, over here. Li Longji called out. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan walked over and looked at Li Longji, waiting for him to speak. Show mercy. Li Longji waved the paper in his hand and said. Wang Wan glanced at it and replied, Xiao Bao and I will definitely do our best to make them lose. Even if they win by a fluke, we will let them know what it means to lose 800 of your own men to kill 1,000 of your enemy. Don't think that you can slack off just because you have advanced weapons. There are many cases of the weak winning against the strong. Once we lose to a nation, they will have a certain attitude of contempt for us. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. He knew. Back then, he and Wang Wan had read a history book from more than 100 years ago. It said that because the United States had lost 2 wars in a row, one against North Korea and the other against Vietnam, even though China's military strength was not that great at that time, its citizens were not afraid of the United States. They were not afraid of the United States like the Japanese, who had been dropped 2 atomic bombs on them. Thus, he said, I'm the same as Cuckoo. We will do our best to win and not give anyone face. If we let them win today, we will hurt them tomorrow. Oh, all right, then you guys will do your best. But this thing that you guys obtained seems to have violated the rules of the game. Li Longji waved the paper in his hand again. This is not a game. This is war. The rules of war are for victory. Without rules, those who can't bear to kill civilians almost got wiped out. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Zhu Zan as he spoke. Zhu Zan nodded silently. He knew what Zhang Xiaobao was talking about. When the Tang Empire's army came, they did not touch the village and were reported. But when Cuckoo's logistics team came, it was really bloody. But who could they blame? If they did not touch the embankment, would they be able to take revenge so ruthlessly? Li Longji also remembered. At that time, he just wanted to give some credit to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. He did not expect them to really fight. He just wanted them to join in the fun. After organizing the logistics team and taking out the money, he could persuade the other officials to promote them. But he did not expect that the logistics team could not only allow the Tang Empire's army to move smoothly in the Tang Empire's territory, but they also received his order. Under the situation where they knew the situation, they resolutely went out according to the order and took the position of commander with the identity of the logistics team. They gathered the defeated soldiers and then went on a campaign to attack the Great Wall. Thinking of this, Li Longji stretched out his hands and rubbed Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's heads. He said, beat them. Beat them hard. Incompetent generals will tire out thousands of soldiers. This is a military selection for you, but also a selection for them. I will not let them see this information. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other and smiled. They nodded at the same time and turned around to invite the generals to start the military selection. When the generals saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan come over, they were speechless. These two were too bad. Lord Pei, aren't you in charge of the Ministry of Personnel? Are you here to watch the fun? Zhang Xiaobao saw Pei Guanting, the Minister of Personnel, and asked in surprise. Pei Guanting's eyes were red. He was sleepy and said listlessly, I used to be a doctor in the Ministry of Military Personnel. I'm old now, so I have to do my part. You're not old. You're in the prime of your life. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in the same position as the Secretary of the Secretariat. That it's about to start. Shouldn't everyone be in their positions? Zhang Xiaobao was still smiling. He had long since known that Pei Guangting was one of them. This time, the other side was full of awesome people. They had sent out their strongest lineup, and they had also gathered all the intelligence. It was just that the other side had schemed in the middle of the night and deliberately provoked them. Wang Wan was also observing. There were quite a few people. Zhao Hanzhong, Zhang Shougui, Jia Shishun, Yang Xixuan, Xiao Song, Du Xian, Gai Jieyun, Cui Shi, Wang Zhongxi, Yuan Rong, and so on. They really thought highly of her. From the looks of it, even the battalion commanders of a battalion had titles. Zhang Xiaobao followed Wang Wan's gaze and looked at Yuan Rong. Before he could ask, Yuan Rong said, "I'm just organizing the logistics. I don't know how to fight a war. I don't know how to arrange rations or keep accounts." Oh, this can be considered a national mobilization. Lord Li Lingfu didn't come? Zhang Xiaobao couldn't help but admire the other party. To be able to put down his pride and ask the administrator to organize the logistics. Li Lingfu's organizational skills weren't bad. There shouldn't be a lack of people who were also good at keeping accounts. "Lord Zhang, I'm here." As expected, a voice came from behind. Li Lingfu stood up and waved his hand. Zhang Xiaobao also waved his hand. I really was afraid that someone would be missing. In any case, there aren't many things to do in the Great Tang right now, and communication is convenient. Since we have nothing to do, let's play together and have some fun. Logically speaking, we can begin now. However, I would like to introduce an important existence to everyone. He is Xueyun. In the sand table, you must acknowledge his existence. Xueyun, come down and let your colleagues take a look. Zhang Xiaobao shouted to the sky, and the sky responded with an eagle cry. Then, Xueyun's figure appeared. He circled twice and found a branch with better branches. Once again, he flew high into the sky and swooped down. He grabbed the trunk with his claws and broke it with a crack. This was not the end of it. The water cloud adjusted its two claws, then took the trunk into the air and swooped down again. It directly pressed the broken part of the trunk into the middle of a small ditch nearby, where the ice and the ground were in contact. Xueyun flew up and slowly landed on the branch he pressed on the ground. It was very suitable. Everyone was already used to this. Xueyun was just making a place for himself to stand. Even if he chatted with someone one day and asked if they had eaten in the morning, it was very normal. There were many birds that could talk. However, everyone still looked at Zhang Xiaobao with jealousy. That was because Xueyun had a wife, Hong Wan, who was almost as smart as him. She could give birth to litters of children. All of them belonged to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. General Xue is coming down. What I want to say is that he will fight with us. In the sand table, we must take him into consideration. How smart he is will be the extent to which the generals on the sand table will acknowledge him. Is that okay? Zhang Xiaobao explained what he meant. No, Xueyun is too smart. It's not fair. Zhao Hanzhong, who was still sore all over, objected. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Li Longji and asked him to speak up for him. Li Longji thought for a moment and said, "How is it fair? You use guns and radios, while Cuckoo uses cold weapons. This is unfair in itself. Can you say that there won't be an existence like Xueyun in the places you fight in the future?" Zhu Zizan chimed in, "That's right. Firecrackers can be bought at will in the Great Tang. Can you guarantee that when people from other countries come and buy a large number of firecrackers, they won't make simple guns for war? Can't other countries buy a lot of firecrackers and use them as explosives?" Zhao Hanzhong didn't say anything. Indeed, who said that firecrackers couldn't kill people? He looked at the others, hoping to get some help. The others lowered their heads and pondered. Then Zhang Shougui stepped forward and said, "Okay, we acknowledge Xueyun. But you and Cuckoo can't receive the signal after stealing our radios and deploy according to the message inside. You have to acknowledge this. We use a separate encryption system. If others get it on the battlefield, they can't translate it. Also, when you get guns and cannons, you can't use them proficiently because you haven't practiced. Although we know that you are more proficient in this, you are not playing the role of people from the Great Tang, right? That's right. Even if we get the radios on the battlefield, there won't be people outside to relay information to us when we fight on the sand table. When we fight with the cannons, they will even explode. The captives will also be captured according to the previous rules. Neither side can get anything out of them, and they would rather die than submit. Are there any other changes? If not, let's begin. Zhang Xiaobao agreed with Zhang Shogui's view. He repeated the rules and asked the others. The generals looked at each other, but none of them proposed any new changes. The rules were more or less done, and if there was a need, a panel of referees would be in charge. The only regret was that they couldn't test it in actual combat, because what happened in actual combat was outside the rules. But there was nothing they could do about it. They couldn't really fight. Seeing that no one wanted to add anything, Li Longji said, "Since that's the case, we will begin the military election. We will also be a referee. If there is a major dispute over fairness, we will personally rule. Let's enter." Whether the generals were sleepy or uncomfortable, they all went to their respective positions. Zhang Xiaobao, Wang Wan, and the others did the same. The large group went to their own rooms. Each person had their own room. Only when their armies encountered each other could they gather together to discuss matters. In the middle of the countless small rooms was a large sand table. It was the sand table of the Jiangnan circuit, and many people in charge of relaying information to the various rooms were ready. Chapter 993. Several hundred generals found their positions. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also arranged for the commanders in their homes. 100,000 soldiers against 100,000 soldiers. This could be considered a major battle. Because Wang Wan was playing the role of the defensive commander of a backward region, her soldiers could be arranged first. The generals would attack from the east of Jiangnan, which was the east of Jiangnan. Wang Wan was not allowed to have large ships, only small sampans. However, the main battlefield was Wang Wan, and Zhang Xiaobao could be more flexible in the logistics. Wang Wan had 400,000 indigenous people, and the generals had 50,000 logistical soldiers to supplement them. With Li Longji's order, the battle began. Zhang Shogui was in charge of the Great Tang's vanguard, leading 20,000 soldiers, 50 cannon ships, 200 transport ships, and horses. At the start of the battle, Zhang Shogui picked up an order flag, waved it twice, and whispered, "Order all cannon ships to line up. Move the ships, fire the cannons, and bombard the coast of Haiyan." The messenger glanced at the small sand table and map in front of Zhang Shogui, nodded, and went to the large sand table in the middle of the large room to repeat Zhang Shogui's order. At this time, many people had entered the large room to deliver the message. The referees were staring at the sand table, and the people in charge of recording were also moving their brushes like they were flying. The model ships representing the cannon ships moved across the surface of the sea on the large sand table. Several referees looked at the sand table and shook their heads, giving a result. Tang Vanguard cannon ships are firing blanket fire. Based on the maximum range of the cannons, 0 native casualties. Because there are no troops stationed along the coast, if the Tang Vanguard cannon ships continue to fire, 1,500 shells will be consumed in 15 minutes. Wang Wan also looked at her sand table and map and softly ordered, "All personnel have finished setting up the traps. All lines are to retreat, with Qiantang as the center, form a straight line from north to south. Retreat to Wuqing, Daqing County, Wukong, Yongxing, and Fuyang County in a line. Prepare to retreat again and give up on Lingyi Mountain." If the various vanguard units have already arrived at their designated positions, and no new orders have been received within 72 hours, it means that the command center has already moved, and orders them to freely adjust the troops according to the deployment before the general battle, or to retreat, or to hide, or to feign attack. The person in charge of delivering the message nodded and left. He went to the house where Huzi and the others were and informed the people outside. The people standing outside expressed that they had heard the message, but did not go in to inform Huzi and the other generals. Because Wang Wan was a native, she didn't have a radio, so it would take some time for the news to be transmitted. If the referee had set a time limit of 4 days for the news to be transmitted, then the people outside would have to wait for 1 day before they could inform Huzi and the others. If the referee had set a time limit of 8 hours, then they would have to wait for 2 hours, which was a 4-to-1 ratio. 3 minutes later, the general in Zhang Shogui's other room sent a report. Vanguard Scout Team 1 reports that the artillery coverage has been completed. All suspicious bunkers in the coastal areas within Sea Salt's line of sight have been destroyed. No signs of a counterattack have been found. Gunship Command Camp reports that 1,150 rounds of ammunition have been expended. Firing has been halted and awaiting further orders. 1/7 of the total number of rounds have been expended. This was the report sent by the general in another room. Scout again, report again. Order the scout camp to increase the number of troops ashore and carefully search. Zhang Shogui realized that the situation was a little bad from the report sent by the first scout team. The first scout team did not say how many native corpses they had seen, which meant that they had not been able to find them, or that there was no one along the coast and all the bunkers were fake. At this moment, Zhang Xiaobao stood up from his room and began to stroll out, heading toward Wang Wan's room. As he passed by Zhang Shogui's door, he even smiled at him. When Zhang Shogui saw Zhang Xiaobao, he froze for a moment, but then he suddenly reacted and said to the messenger, "Objection. Zhang Xiaobao has snuck out on his own and violated the rules." The messenger immediately went to the panel of judges, and after receiving a reply, he returned and said to Zhang Shogui, "The panel of judges has expressed that it's fine. Zhang Xiaobao has not violated the rules." "How is that possible? He's already come out, but he hasn't violated the rules. I request that the panel of judges give a detailed explanation. Look, he's already entered Wang Wan's room, so how can the martial arts examination still proceed? What is he in charge of that he can just go over? In a moment, remember to close my door. It's easier for them to hear." Zhang Shogui unhappily pointed at Zhang Xiaobao, who had just entered Wang Wan's room and closed the door. The messenger ran back and forth. "The panel of judges has said that you have no right to know what Zhang Xiaobao is in charge of through the panel of judges. Furthermore, they have confirmed once again that he has not violated the rules. If you must know, then you can first request to withdraw from the martial arts examination. After they inform you, you can only sit in the judge's seat or leave the field." Zhang Shogui paused for a moment, then waved his hand. "Forget it. I can't withdraw yet. Order the cannons to follow the northern shore of Hangzhou Bay and travel close to the shore. Use the fastest speed possible to reach Yanguan County. Send a scout team to search the shore. If they encounter an enemy, report back. The special forces will go ashore and enter the forest. If they find traces of the enemy, use the radio to call for artillery support and inform the Central Army. The road ahead is safe." Yang Xishuan was in charge of the Central Army of the Great Tang Fleet. He was in charge of 40,000 soldiers, 20 cannons, and 300 ships. It was not his turn to do anything yet. He sat on the chair and looked at the sand table on the ground. There were a few models of small boats in front of him, representing the vanguard. The messenger pushed the boats forward bit by bit. Every time they moved a little, they would leave. Then, when they received the report from the panel of judges, they would push a little more. After pushing a little more, when the messenger returned, 2 of the boats had stopped moving. Yang Xishuan was stunned. Why did the 2 groups of soldiers stop at the vanguard? This group was requested by Wang Wan. It was represented by the brigade and battalion of the military advisor. It was not that the current military system was not good enough, but that Wang Wan was more familiar with it. It was already good that she did not change the brigade into platoons. When she lectured, she also had the generals get used to the system. Yang Xishuan was only puzzled, but Zhang Shogui was about to go crazy from anger. "Why are my 2 groups not moving? Can someone give me an explanation?" Zhang Shogui was the messenger. The messenger knew what was going on, but he could not say. He could only helplessly shrug his hands. If Sir wishes to see the details, please withdraw first. Fleet personnel report that the propellers of the Vanguard's first, second, and third groups have been entangled by fishing nets. The panel of judges has determined that the first, second, and third groups are unable to move, and their steam engines have been damaged. Half of the first group's boats are unable to move, and their steam engines have also been damaged. Zhang Shogui's question was quickly answered by a messenger from another room in the group. How did they get entangled? The lookout just now said that the water was calm. Where did they hide their fishing nets? This is too much of a bully. Zhang Shogui could not figure out what the problem was. In the end, the messenger also said, if you wish to know the exact reason and observe from a third party's perspective, please withdraw first and find someone else to replace you. Can't you just say something else? Zhao Gang, withdraw first and ask what's going on. Have your little brother replace you. If the explanation is wrong, come find me. If the explanation is reasonable, you can stay with the panel of judges. Zhang Shogui shouted as loudly as he could into the room next door. Zhao Gang was the captain in charge of the lookout. When he heard Zhang Shogui's voice, he reluctantly put down the flag, stood up, and walked over to the large sand table in the center. When he got there, he said, I withdraw. I want to know how the boat was entangled by the fishing nets. In your judgment, there were no tools on the water that left a mark. The people of the panel of judges were very easy to talk to. Since Zhao Gang had withdrawn, they would tell him. He explained, Wang Wan had people place a fishing net in the water at the very beginning, using a levitation technique. It's basically a piece of wood with a rock hanging from it. Only after achieving levitation is it allowed to be placed in the water. The fishing net is hung in this manner. This technique is not difficult at all, and the panel of judges has approved it. Do you have any other opinions? Zhao Gang thought for a moment, then shook his head. No. Have my little brother replace me. I want to join the panel of judges. Give me a copy of the rules. Zhang Shogui did not receive Zhao Gang. What he received was news from a messenger. Lord Zhao has already joined the panel of judges. Zhang Shogui raised his head and sighed. He now understood that the boat had truly been entangled by the fishing net. As for how, he would have to find the reason himself. It didn't take long for the water ghost to report. Discovered floating pieces of wood and falling rocks in the water, neither floating nor sinking, attached to the fishing net. The special forces on shore also reported. Discovered countless bunkers and dummies, but no living or dead people. Zhang Shogui nodded vigorously. Formidable. Before we even made contact, our great Tang has already lost several tens of thousands of strings of coins. But I don't understand. As he spoke, Zhang Shogui stood up and headed straight for the center of the sand table. When he arrived at a door facing this direction, he wrapped his clothes around his head and covered his ears with his hands. Unable to enter, he said, Stop for a moment. I have something to say. I didn't see or hear. Li Longji was eating appetizers and drinking wine while looking at the sand table. Seeing Zhang Shogui enter like this, he raised his hand to signal for a pause. Minister Zhang, someone come and take his hands off. Stop pretending. We don't believe that he can't hear us. Without needing help, Zhang Shogui put down his own hands and said indignantly, Your Majesty, this subject refuses to accept this. Wang Wan is our general's teacher, so she already understands us very well. And there's also Zhang Xiaobao, who specializes in scheming. If they fight with us, we will be at a disadvantage at every step. What this subject wants to ask is, if it really was the great Tang's army, how many aboriginals would be able to come up with such a plan? But Your Majesty, look at the way they fought. They've been scheming from the start and understand us very well. Is it possible for them to be true aboriginals? Li Longji earnestly listened. After thinking for a while, he asked, Then, according to Minister Zhang's meaning, you admit defeat? Wang Wan directly became the martial champion? This subject does not mean that. What this subject means is that the referees should not have allowed them to be as smart as they are now, Zhang Shogui argued. His voice was so loud that others could hear him. Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao walked out of the room and to the sand table in the center. Zhang Xiaobao spoke. General Zhang, yes, Cuckoo understands you, but you don't understand her? She's always giving you lessons, so you don't understand her style? I also didn't hide. I used schemes, and everyone seemed to understand that once my schemes were out, they would always be connected. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. Could it be that you want to push the blame onto us and say that you don't understand us? You say that we schemed against you, but could it be that on a real battlefield, you would discover that the enemy general was scheming against you, and you would stop fighting? And then, because they were in the wrong, they would agree to a truce and withdraw their troops? This is not the case. On the battlefield, there is only life and death, nothing else. Everyone uses their own methods to determine victory and defeat. But are the aboriginals as smart as you? Wouldn't they be scared silly by the sound of cannons? Zhang Shogui first shook his head, then continued with his reason for opposing. Oh, scared silly by the sound of cannons? Fine, General Zhang. Take a look and see what this is. Zhang Xiaobao took out his gun and pointed it at Zhang Shogui. A gun, Zhang Shogui replied. Very good. Then now, General Zhang, I want you to bring your mother, wife, or daughter over and take off their clothes, so that we can all humiliate them. Otherwise, I'll beat you to death, Zhang Xiaobao said. Brat, you dare? Zhang Shogui's eyebrows shot up and his eyes widened. He stepped forward and charged at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao, if you have the guts, beat me to death. Beat me. Stop. General Zhang, I'm apologizing. I'm just saying. Later, I'll kowtow to Andy and apologize. I'll go with Cuckoo to apologize. Please don't be impulsive. Zhang Xiaobao hurriedly ran behind Li Longji. Minister Zhang, don't be impulsive. We will uphold justice for you. Someone seize Zhang Xiaobao, Li Longji urged. Gao Lisher was on the side. He pressed down on Zhang Xiaobao and snatched the gun from him. Only then did Zhang Shogui stop his charge and angrily glare at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao, I'll remember you. If you don't give me a satisfactory explanation, I'll buy a cart full of firecrackers and blow up your house. Zhang Xiaobao raised his hand and fearfully said, Okay, General Zhang, please don't be angry. Later, Cuckoo and I will kowtow to Andy, okay? There is an explanation. It's like this, General Zhang. I was just saying, and you're already like this. You also know the power of a gun, so why didn't you back down? The natives also have their own parents, wives, and children. If you're not afraid of guns, should they be afraid of cannons? Living in humiliation or dying in battle to protect their loved ones. I believe that many men know what to choose. Even women can be forced onto the battlefield. Thus, your explanation is not valid. Zhang Xiaobao sincerely spoke this time. Zhang Shogui took a few deep breaths. In the future, you're not allowed to use my family as an excuse. There's no need for you to go to my mother's place. I admit that the natives also have men, but are they as smart as you? On the side, Wang Wan glared at Zhang Xiaobao. Of all the examples he could use, why did he have to mention his family? Following which, she said, General Zhang, Xiaobao and I have been wanting to pay a visit for a long time. Please don't refuse. You must go. Xiaobao's words just now offended you, so please be magnanimous. Later, we'll pay a visit and apologize. Now, I'll answer your second question. Our Great Tang's technology is limited, but the gunships are there for all to see, and the steam engine ships are shuttling back and forth. Let's not talk about the natives of other places, just talk about Japan. Do you think they can't figure out how to stop the propeller ships? If a foreigner studies in the Great Tang long enough, he will know how the weapons of the Great Tang are and will definitely think of a way to deal with them. No one is a fool, and there are also some extremely talented people. If a tribe sends 100 people to study in the Great Tang, when they return, how can they not compare and think about the Great Tang's economy and military? Yes, they might not understand the great Tang as well as I and Xiaobao, but you won a battle. So how can the other tribes not think about it? You say that it's unfair that Xiaobao and I know a lot, but it's unfair to use guns against cold weapons. You can't always treat others as fools. In fact, no matter how backward a place is, as long as they fight to the death, you can't win unless you kill everyone. Zhang Xiaobao took back his gun and continued. Actually, not all the men in all places are like men. In some places, you don't even need to fight. You just need to spend money, and women will take off their clothes and perform for you. This is actually more tragic than being conquered by force. General Zhang, think about it this way. You are not fighting against the natives, but against a smart people. You just have advanced weapons, but these people are not afraid of death and are eager to learn. Moreover, they have sent many people to study in the Great Tang. You also have to understand that the person participating in the military selection is Cuckoo. You have the advantage of weapons and are making it difficult for her to move. We are competing with cold weapons and hot weapons, but we are using the natives as an excuse. Don't you even have this little bit of confidence? Do you have to turn Cuckoo into a fool before you think you have a chance of winning? Then what if Cuckoo also uses hot weapons to participate in the military selection? Do you still dare to compete? Zhang Shogui lowered his head in embarrassment. Truly, Wang Wan's military selection was already not balanced. No one knew if the natives would be so formidable that they would not compromise even if their entire tribe was wiped out, or so weak that they would take off their clothes for a little money. But since he had chosen his opponent, he had to choose the strongest. Thus he said, Your Majesty, this subject knows his wrongs. Correct. Minister Zhang is a man. Since you are willing to risk your life to protect your family in the future, when needed, you will definitely be able to protect the country. Li Longji didn't care at all about Zhang Shogui's lack of etiquette. If he really wanted to investigate, he would first investigate Zhang Xiaobao, who wouldn't be angry after hearing those words. Unless he wasn't a man. If things went wrong, he would have to write a decree to console Zhang Shogui's mother. As for Xiaobao, he would have to suffer even more. He would have to pay his respects. Upon hearing Li Longji's words, Zhang Shogui felt much better. He glanced at Zhang Xiaobao, wanting to persuade him not to come and apologize, but Zhang Xiaobao immediately understood. General Zhang, don't say any more. I have to go. Even if it's for my reputation, I have to go. Otherwise, what will the world think of me? If the two of us switch places, you would already be on the ground. Not even a doctor from the Academy of Day could save you. Once the military selection is over, Cuckoo and I will pay you a visit. Don't reject us at the door. Cuckoo, what gift do you think we should prepare? An apology is an apology, but a gift can't be lacking. There's no need. Zhang Shogui actually felt a little embarrassed. This husband and wife pair had been talking about kowtowing and apologizing for nothing more than the fact that it involved his family. It wasn't like they were actually trying to humiliate him. Their usual etiquette was already more than enough. Wang Wan ignored Zhang Shogui's words. Following Zhang Xiaobao's words, she said, I heard that Auntie likes to eat Huainan sweet oranges. This is a must. It's said that Auntie worked hard in her youth and coughed for a long time. Tubo's golden fungus is also a must. Also, Auntie always has people buy sandalwood to calm the heart. Gifting her a set of sandalwood furniture is also a must. Auntie is also afraid of the cold. When the soldiers of Jilin province went overseas to find seeds, they hunted down a white bear pelt and placed it in Auntie's room. Auntie is also willing to watch the show. How about we bring our acrobatics and crosstalk troupe over to accompany Auntie in her happiness? Also, Wang Wan spoke one thing after another, leaving Zhang Shogui dumbfounded. He realized that some of the things Wang Wan spoke of were things he already knew, but there were still some that he didn't know. For an outsider to know his mother's habits better than him and speak of them as if they were family treasures. Wasn't this a little too frightening? Thinking of this, Zhang Shogui couldn't find the words to refuse. She was gifting something to his mother. He felt like Wang Wan was his mother's real daughter. She truly understood everything. Moved, Zhang Shogui couldn't help but sigh. Let's just continue with the military selection. I think we're done for. Chapter 994. Returning to his room, Zhang Shogui stared at the two model boats on the sand table for a while before giving the order. Give the order. The 5,000 men of the 3 regiments of the 1st Vanguard Brigade are to be sent ashore in small boats. Equip them with horses and send them along the coastal land route, moving side by side with the fleet. The 2nd Vanguard Brigade is to send small boats forward quickly, throw hooks, and pull out all the fishing nets in the water. Send the hot air balloons into the air and fly as fast as possible toward Shecheng on the southern shore of Hangzhou Bay. Enter Qiantang along the coast and monitor the situation in the surrounding 100 square kilometers. Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao also returned to the room. As for why Zhang Xiaobao was able to stay with Wang Wan, it was because Zhang Xiaobao had arranged the logistics in advance. He had put the command center together with Wang Wan's command center. In any case, the speed of information transmission was already very slow. Even if he split up, he wouldn't be of much use. It was better to stay in the same room with Wang Wan and discuss things on the spot. Weather, Wang Wan asked the messenger. Light rain, the messenger replied. This was the result of the dice in the center of the sand table. The season was autumn, and it had just entered autumn. The weather conditions were changed every day. Other than volcanic eruptions and hurricanes blowing up the mountains, all sorts of weather conditions could occur. After a period of time, heavy snow was even allowed. Although it was said that the Jiangnan circuit rarely experienced snow, and even if it did, it was not a heavy snowfall. However, previous records showed that the Jiangnan circuit had indeed experienced heavy snowfalls. Of course, it was impossible for the entire Jiangnan circuit to be completely sunny on the first day and completely covered in snow on the second. That was absolutely impossible. Clouds had not yet flown in or formed. Hearing the messenger's answer, Wang Wan nodded and said, "It's good that it's raining." In this season, when the Jiangnan society plays dice, will there be more options for rain in the corresponding grid when counting points? Of course. That is the actual situation. The Jiangnan circuit is most prone to rain in spring and autumn. I am in charge of logistics and have already made the corresponding preparations. Don't worry, there won't be any problems. As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he pointed at Huanchan County in Muzhou, Jiangnan East Road. I've arranged something here. I don't know if it can be used. Let's wait for more rain. Wang Wan glanced around and did not ask Zhang Xiaobao for the details of the layout. Otherwise, it would be easy to be influenced, and the layout would revolve around that place. He ordered the messenger. My order, the main force in Hangzhou, is to retreat. Call Commander Wang Yi of the Sniper Battalion of the 2 ND Divisions, 1st Brigade over. The smallest military unit in this sand table could be implemented as a platoon. If there was a need, such as arranging for a very powerful person to carry out a special assassination tactic, then he could even let him appear as a platoon leader. In reality, they couldn't have too many detailed commanders. Otherwise, the main force of both sides would be 200,000. They couldn't arrange for one commander for each group of 10. That would require 20,000 people to carry out this military expedition. The current scale was not small. In total, there were more than 3,000 people. This was the largest sand table military exercise since ancient times to the Tang Empire. Battalion Commander Wang, he had his own position. He ran over from a small house. Because his position in the military exercise was in the middle army, and he was with Wang Wan, he was allowed to enter Wang Wan's house. But according to his position on the sand table, it would take him an hour to come over. According to the ratio of 1/4, he would have to wait for 15 minutes before he was allowed to see Wang Wan. After 15 minutes, the messenger guarding the door allowed him to enter. Commander Wang Yi of the Sniper Battalion of the 1st Brigade of the 2nd Division reporting. As soon as Wang Yi entered the door, he stood up straight and reported to Wang Wan. Commander Wang, our middle army will retreat immediately. Your battalion will be responsible for delaying the enemy's advance. This is the detailed plan of deployment. You can act freely to delay the enemy at any cost. Wang Wan picked up a written battle plan and saluted to Wang Yi. Then she handed the plan to him with both hands. Wang Yi took the plan solemnly and saluted back. He said solemnly, "I promise to complete the mission at any cost. The sniper battalion will be reserved for reinforcements. We will pass on the military spirit," Wang Wan said. Zhang Xiaobao also stood up and saluted. Wang Yi turned around and strode out. The messenger knew that this was just a battle on the sand table, but he still respectfully sent Wang Yi out. Because he knew that even if it was a real battlefield, Wang Wan would still make the same decision, and Wang Yi's sniper battalion would fight to the last person to delay the enemy's advance. Leave the sniper battalion. The middle army will retreat at full speed. Wang Wan gave another order. When the people beside the sand table in the middle received this order, they immediately started to move the small model of the middle army represented by Wang Wan to the back. Wei Wei moved a little, then stopped and moved a little more. At the same time, they took out many smaller models to represent the sniper battalion that had left the group. The small flags had the word Wang written on them. In the middle army, Yang Xishuan was also giving orders. Order the whole army to press forward. Before we reach Hangzhou Bay, send out a brigade of 5,000 people to Wanghai town. After the messenger gave the order, he smiled and said to the other generals in the middle of the room, "I think Wang Wan will deploy a lot of troops in Wanghai town. We'll use the lives of 5,000 people to hold back their ambusher while the vanguard goes around them. Let's see how they can escape then." The other generals laughed. One of them said, "General, you are indeed amazing. No matter how good Wang Wan is at scheming, even if there are 30,000 people here, we may not lose with 5,000 people. In terms of the rules of the game, we have an absolute advantage with our weapons." Li Longji and the others, who were beside the sand table in the middle, heard the different conversations in the two rooms. They sighed and said, "Cuckoo won." Cheater agreed. "I think so too." Cuckoo and Xiao Bao didn't treat this sand table simulation as a game. Their generals also treat themselves as real members of the battlefield. The generals we are facing are still laughing and treating human lives as numbers. They don't care if 5,000 people will be ambushed by the middle army. Wang Yi's battalion only has 700 people. Cuckoo promised to leave a number. I believe that in a real battlefield, the sniper battalion will fight to the last person. The referees immediately gave Wang Yi's sniper battalion bonus points in the evaluation of morale. In other words, if they had the same number of people, the sniper battalion would win in hand-to-hand combat. The generals didn't know that Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao were playing with them seriously, so the people below them were also very relaxed. They looked at the sand table and map in front of them and felt that it was very interesting. I believe that when they are moving forward, they will be vigilant of every mountain and will send a large number of special forces to scout ahead. So I want to leave people behind to harass every mountain that they may pass through, so that they can't judge the situation clearly. This is the tragedy of backward technology. We can only use the lives of countless heroes to make up for it. Everything is for victory. Everything is for the sake of not losing the country. After giving the order, Wang Wan had nothing else to do for the time being. She took a magnifying glass and looked at the terrain on the map while talking to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao was also observing the terrain with a magnifying glass. He said, "We can choose Jiangnan province. If we choose the northern part of Hebei province, we can fortify the defense and clear the wilderness all the way. We can drag it out from autumn to winter, and their expedition will be over. Now there are trees and rivers. Even if we can't transport food, we can hunt and dig wild vegetables. The horses can also eat grass. Then we have to cut off their logistics. The rule is that they will arrive here in a month by sea. Every time we cut off their logistics, they will have to live without logistics for at least a month. The wild animals are not enough for 100,000 people to eat. If they eat wild vegetables, their physical strength will be greatly reduced. Wang Wan walked along the map. When she stopped, she had already put the magnifying glass at the location of Daunting Lake. She said, "When they arrive here, our army is 20,000 less than theirs. It will be their win, or they can beat our army to 3,000 people. I want to see how far they can go without supplies. You keep an eye on the logistics. Don't let them steal the food. Don't worry, they can't get it. Even if they get it, they won't dare to eat it," Zhang Xiaobao said confidently. When the chief commander seemed to be a little idle, the people in the various battalions seemed to be busy. They were the lowest commanders and needed to make decisions at every step. Orders were sent out and small models moved on the sand table. Although the two sides had not made any actual contact, they were very careful, especially Wang Wan's people. They used cold weapons because they were afraid of being discovered by the enemy at a long distance. Then they would be attacked by guns and cannons. So the sand table showed that one side was advancing slowly while the other side was retreating cautiously. One side suspected that there might be an ambush at every place but did not appear. The other side wanted to set traps everywhere but gave up hesitantly. "We can't fight today. Let's sleep for a while." Zhang Xiaobao could guess the current situation without looking at the sand table. Wang Wan did not intend to fight for the beach when the enemy had just come ashore or not. The enemy had many places where they could come ashore and also had artillery support. Sniping at the beach would not be a big threat to the enemy and would instead cause more losses to their own side. In this way, they could not fight at all today. With 4 to 1 time, waiting for a day would only count as 4 days. So he looked at the map again and found that there were no other dangers. He nodded and said, "Then let's sleep. Sleep here. Get someone to quietly bring in some blankets." When the sun was about to rise, Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao lay down and fell asleep, telling others that they would not be eating breakfast. Li Longji yawned and stretched. "I am also sleepy. Let's go back to the palace. Ancestor Cheetah, you go back to your room. Lisher, prepare the carriage." Gao Lisher arranged for a carriage and suggested to Li Longji, for example, go to Savant's restaurant to have some porridge before returning. "Fine." Li Longji nodded in agreement. The members of the adjudicators did not sleep well last night and were also called out from their beds. When the sun was about to rise, they had breakfast and passed the content of last night's recording to the people who came to take over the shift. They then went to the hibiscus garden to sleep. At this time, the generals were having a hard time. They did not rest well last night. Now, other than the few shots fired by the vanguard, there was no other sound of gunfire. In other words, they could not find the enemy. So they were always on tenterhooks, guessing where Wang Wan put the soldiers, making people feel that there was a hidden poisonous snake waiting for the right time. They hurriedly freshened up and looked at the map while eating breakfast. When they saw that there was no movement for a long time, they could not bear the sleepiness and fell asleep one after another. They even told the messenger to wake them up if something happened. The generals at the various positions below, Wang Wan's side knew what was going on. They slept peacefully, but the battalion commanders and captains on the other side were worried that their troops would be surrounded. So they did not sleep peacefully either. Just like that, a day passed. Li Longji slept during the day and came to the hibiscus garden full of energy. He walked around and looked. The generals had already woken up in the afternoon and were still sleepy now. They all had dark circles under their eyes and were still guessing where Wang Wan's men were. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had just woken up not long ago. They asked someone to bring them a temporary portable bathroom. After bathing, they were eating. Li Longji looked at the generals on both sides and began to feel sad for them. If they did not adjust, they would lose people before the martial arts competition ended. He then said to Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao, "Cuckoo, Xiaobao, do you want to find an opportunity to fight a few rounds? If you keep retreating and don't accept the challenge, the generals will not be able to hold themselves back." Being impatient is a taboo for generals. If they can't even handle this, how can they be generals? Wang Wan said as she took a bite of the fried egg. They won't go so far as to deal with others, but their current opponent is you. They keep thinking that you will suddenly scheme against them. Li Longji defended the generals. They are scheming from the start. How can a war be fought face to face? I feel that they don't seem to care. We have to think of a way to stimulate them and make them put in more effort. Zhang Xiaobao put down his chopsticks and made sarcastic remarks. Li Longji admitted, they really don't take the sand table for real. They just want to win against you. They don't care how many people die. They only care about defeating you. Logically speaking, you are not wrong. But I think that if they encounter a place that they need to conquer, they will lose a lot of great Tang soldiers in order to win. How will the great Tang's people live? I don't want to hear every family cry after a battle. You have to think of a way to get them to put in more effort. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan heard something else from these words. So that's how it is. Their condition really isn't good. That's good. Zhang Xiaobao pretended to be serious and thought hard. He even stopped eating. After a while, he opened his mouth and said, there is a way. I will ask the Ministry of Works to speed up the production of something related to the military. When the time comes, this kind of thing will be distributed according to their performance. Those who do not perform well, those who have many dead generals, will not get it. Good idea. We will tell them right now. Li Longji clapped his hands and was about to tell the generals. Zhang Xiaobao hurriedly dissuaded him. Your Majesty, there is no need to be anxious. Wait for the thing to be produced in a few days. Seeing is believing. That's reasonable. Then let's wait a little longer. You all eat. I will go elsewhere to take a look. Li Longji excitedly left. Zhang Xiaobao watched as Li Longji left. He smiled and said, they will be exhausted in a few days. I think so too. Wang Wan agreed. Chapter 995. 3 days. 3 days passed quickly and slowly. For many people, 3 days passed in the blink of an eye, but for the generals, these 3 days were even longer than the 12 days of the 1-to-4 ratio on the sand table. In these 3 days, not even the shadow of the enemy could be found. Zhang Shogui's vanguard would reach Qiantang in another day and a half. The brigade that followed on the shore even took food and soybeans from the ships to resupply. Staring at the sand table in front of him, Zhang Shogui muttered to himself, where are they? Have they given up on defense? Have the entire army retreat? If I really dock at Qiantang and set down the cannons, you won't have a chance. The messenger beside him pursed his lips, not saying a word. He knew what was going on. Men, pass down my order. Expand the search area of the hot air balloons. You must find them. There's definitely something wrong at Qiantang. Check the wind direction. Zhang Shogui passed down the order and rubbed his temples tiredly. His eyes were still staring at the sand table. He didn't believe that Wang Wan wouldn't do anything. The wind direction had already been checked. There was no wind, but it was an inconceivable wind direction. Usually, there would be a south or southeast wind at this time. It seems like the glider wing unit can't be deployed. The hot air balloons will fly on their own. Pay attention to the eagles in the sky. It's really inconvenient without eagles. The eyes of eagles can see further than a telescope. At the center of the sand table, Li Longji came again. He didn't come yesterday because he knew that the battle wouldn't happen yesterday and that the battle would happen today. So many people came. Empress Wang, Wu Huifei, Zhu Zan, and Princess Jinsheng were all here to watch the show. In this battle, more than 700 people from Cuckoo's battalion will be wiped out. These 700 people are the Death Army. If they stay, they won't be able to survive. It's just that we don't know how long they can delay the enemy. The wind direction is still, which isn't good for the sniper battalion. They need to change their plans at the last minute. Li Longji was the commentator, explaining to the crowd. To be precise, he was explaining to Princess Jinsheng and Wu Huifei. Zhu Zan could see that, so could Gao Lishur. As for Empress Wang, She was born in a family of generals. She loved to fight and had long understood the situation. She looked at the arrangement on the sand table and asked, "Your Majesty, who is the battalion commander of the royal banner?" Li Longji really didn't know. Gao Lisha replied, "Empress, the person from the Wang banner is called Wang Yi. He's the second batch of battle commanders that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo trained. The first batch was Huzi and the others, while the second batch has been training for more than 10 years. 10 years old? How could Cuckoo bear to do that? Those under the death banner are the warriors of my great Tang. Why can't we think of some other tactic?" Empress Wang's eyes turned red. For a moment, she forgot that this was a sand table exercise and thought that it was a real battlefield. If it were anyone else, Cuckoo wouldn't be able to rest assured. She was even willing to give up on herself. Her heart was as firm as steel. People always die in war. At the very least, they died in their homeland. Princess Jincheng lamented at the side. She couldn't help but think of how she obtained her current position. Back then in Lhasa City, she clearly felt that she was being ostracized by others. After that, Cuckoo led the troops and fought for thousands of miles. The more ruthless she fought, the more attention she received. Empress Wang also remembered what happened back then. Yes. The desert is vast and it's hard to judge the age. How many good men of great Tang have been buried in Tubo? This damn Chi. Hee. Ancestor Chi Dazan, I didn't scold you. I was just saying. It's all in the past. Let's not talk about it. When Empress Wang was scolding, she realized that Ancestor Chi Dazan was still at the side. She hurriedly covered up. Ancestor Chi Dazan was very depressed. You people died, but more people died in Tubo. My country is gone. Who can I find to reason with? While thinking in his heart, he said, "Yes, it's all in the past. I hope that Wang Yi can hold on for a while longer. Even if he dies, he should die in a meaningful way." When they were looking at the sand table and talking, Wang Yi was very distressed. He was already prepared to light the fire. The 700 people had already spread out. The furthest was 100 miles away. With the first firework as the signal, they would burn the mountain together. The 700 people spread out, making it easy for them to hide. If there was a south wind or a southeast wind, they would keep hiding and let the enemy's main force pass by. Then, they would light the fire behind them. This way, because the enemy had cannons, they would be afraid of being burned. There would be chaos. The fire would be driven by the wind and chase after the enemy. Presumably, they would hold a grudge and turn back to chase after them. They could run and attract the enemy's attention until they died in battle. However, there was no wind now. How could there be no wind in Hangzhou in autumn? Who threw the dice? Their luck was too bad. Wang Yi looked at the sand table and scolded the person who threw the dice. He frowned and tried hard to think of a solution. At this time, a messenger came with a few small models of hot air balloons in his hands. He placed them on the sand table in front of Wang Yi. "Oh, the enemy's hot air balloon team is here. There are quite a lot of them, at least 200 of them. They are so free that they can get a bunch of hot air balloons. Won't they take up space on the ship?" Seeing the small models, Wang Yi knew what it meant. The enemy had sent out an aerial reconnaissance strike force. He was very envious. He didn't know where the eagles on his side were. Otherwise, if they rushed over, they would break all the hot air balloons and let them fly. Just as he was feeling vexed, Wang Yi had a flash of inspiration. His eyes lit up, and he ordered the messenger, "Pass my order. Form a triangle. Light 3 columns of fireworks first. 5 minutes later, light 2 columns of fireworks 100 meters away from the 3 columns of fireworks. Another 5 minutes later, light 1 column of fireworks 50 meters away from the 2 columns of fireworks. Act according to the fireworks signal." The messenger left hurriedly and went to the big sand table to report. Then, many messengers went to the relevant rooms and marked the sand table of the general. Wang Yi's side was divided into 14 teams of 50 people. Because it was a special situation, the 14 people were divided into 14 temporary tents. The team leader closest to Wang, he saw that 3 models representing fireworks had been inserted into the sand table, which was not very exquisite, and immediately gave the order, light 3 groups of fireworks, form a triangle. After 2 more columns of fireworks appeared, he gave the same order. Then he said, order burn the mountain. Quickly, retreat after lighting the fire. Quickly, gather at the predetermined target. The team closest to him also gave the same order and passed it down one after another. The leader of the hot air balloon team of Zhang Shogui's vanguard was stunned when he saw the models of fireworks on his sand table. Then he suddenly reacted. Telegram. Enemy tracks have been discovered. There are 3 columns of man-made fireworks. After a while he said, 2 more columns of fireworks have been discovered. 5 minutes later he said, telegram. 14 columns of fireworks have been discovered. The enemy is using fireworks to convey orders. 3-2. 5 minutes later he said, 14 columns. The numbers haven't changed. The order of fireworks is 3, 2, 1. The interval is 5 minutes. Then, the messenger took out a bunch of small, smoke-like objects and scattered them on the sand table. The leader was puzzled. Why were there so many ignition points? Could it be that the enemy's main force was here? With so little, wouldn't they be burning themselves? After another 5 minutes, the messenger brought over a large model of fireworks and covered a large area. The leader's hot air balloon was picked up and placed on top of the fireworks. When he saw this, he said, telegram, the entire Hangzhou area, estimated to be 100 li, has been lit. The enemy is probably using small groups to delay our attack. Telegram, I said, telegram. Why are you still standing there? After the leader gave the last order, he saw that the messenger was still standing there, so he anxiously asked, telegram, I said, telegram. Why are you still standing there? The messenger didn't show any dissatisfaction. He replied, your hot air balloon team flew between 130 meters and 150 meters. The flames below are burning. Because the enemy was prepared, the flames grew very quickly. Just now, you didn't give the order to evade or take off immediately. Thus, the referee team determined that you all fainted from the smoke. If the wind didn't change direction and the hot air balloons flew out of this area without outside help, you all would have died in battle. The leader understood. He rubbed his face with both hands and asked in disbelief, we died just like that? The wind direction is not wind, but outside help? All the hot air balloons in the vanguard were sent out. Where else could there be outside help? Let me ask, why did we faint from the smoke? Isn't this too fake? I predicted that you would definitely withdraw. Let me explain. They have been preparing for more than 10 days. There are many flammable and smoky things, as well as various kinds of feces, pepper powder, oil, and so on. Thus, we collapsed from the smoke. If you don't believe me, you can try. If you don't faint, we will make a new judgment. The messenger slightly violated the rules and told the leader in advance. Because he hadn't been judged dead yet, he didn't count as withdrawing. When the leader heard what the messenger said, he thought about more than 10 days of preparation and admitted, there's no need to try. We fell, definitely fell. If there was really such a big fire, not to mention the pungent smell, even if there was only fire, the sky would be gone. It was only 100 meters high, and there was no wind. Once the heat came out, we would have collapsed from lack of oxygen. I'm sorry, General, I didn't send back the crucial information. The messenger smiled and became amiable. General, your official position is above the 7th rank. You can go to the center of the sand table and watch. His Majesty is also there. Okay, I'll go take a look. Even if I die, I want to know how the other party arranged it. The leader stood up gloomily and was led to the center of the sand table by the messenger. Li Longji saw him coming and laughed. Come, Minister Chen, come to Jean. Let's see how you've been smothered by the smoke. This official greets His Majesty, the Empress, Imperial Concubine Hui, Her Royal Highness, General Gao, Ancestor Cheetah. This official is indeed muddled by the smoke. This official wants to know where Military Commander Wang stayed and commanded this sneak attack. Isn't she afraid of burning herself? The military general surnamed Chun first greeted everyone and looked at the sand table. At the same time, he asked where Wang Wan was. When he saw the flag, he was very surprised. "Are you puzzled, Minister Chun?" As you can see, it wasn't Cuckoo who specifically commanded the battle, Li Longji said. Then which general is this? How did he know there was no wind? Or was it improvisation? The military general surnamed Chun had just finished asking when he suddenly realized that Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao didn't have any generals under their command. The only general they had was Shui Yun. When he thought of this, he was suddenly shocked. Gao Lishir said proudly, "Minister Chen's guess is correct. The one who commanded this sneak attack is also someone who adapts to the situation. He's a member of the inner courtyard of the Wang family. His surname is Wang, and his name is Yi. He's an ordinary member of the 300 people in the second wave who learned to command from Cuckoo. He has no official position and no rank." Gao Lishir had reason to be proud. Xiao Bao was his adopted son. There wasn't much difference between him and his own son. When he was 100 years old, all of the family's wealth would belong to Xiao Bao. The servants in the family, as well as that wife of his, would have to listen to Xiao Bao's orders. The fact that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's families were powerful was also due to him, the father. Don't look at how Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family had only risen to power for a short period of time. What they displayed was definitely the foundation of an aristocratic family. When the military general surnamed Chun heard this, he lowered his head and said, "This official blushes with shame. This official is unworthy of his current position. This official requests to resign." When Li Longji saw that his official had been dealt a blow and even wanted to resign, he waved his hand and said, "That's not a good idea. The Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family aren't only powerful in their commanding personnel. There's also the administrative personnel. Don't tell me that with them around, all of the civil and military officials in the court will compare themselves, and then most of them will go home. What should we do? Let their family's inner courtyard take over the position. In the future, most of the court officials will be from their family. From then on, there won't be any need for morning court. We can just hold family meetings in their house. Minister Chun, what do you think?" "No, Your Majesty, you absolutely can't. Otherwise, the country will no longer be a country." The military general surnamed Chun jumped in fright and shook his head repeatedly. "That's right, that won't do. The inner courtyard official, named Wang, he has studied for more than 10 years. All of you have only studied for a short period of time. In the future, you have to study hard. Cuckoo has given her all in teaching all of you. She didn't hold anything back, just like how Xiao Bao teaches economics to others. Cuckoo and Xiao Bao, as well as their family's inner courtyard, I won't use them unless it's a big battle. They are the edge of my scabbard. If I really need them to take action, I only need one result, and that is victory. If all of you do your jobs well, I won't need them. They just want to relax. It's because some people are incompetent that Xiao Bei and the others have to run around. Work hard." Li Longji suddenly thought of Xiao Bei and the others who weren't in the capital. For the past few days, he felt that it was cold and cheerless. It wasn't as lively as when Xiao Bei was chattering by his side. When the military general surnamed Chen heard this, he solemnly said, "This subject will definitely do his best to learn and not disappoint Your Majesty's expectations." "Good, let's look at the sand table. In this sneak attack, all of you lost. Each hot air balloon had a lookout, an operator to control the fire, a helmsman responsible for controlling the direction, and 2 attackers ready to drop the ammunition at any time. There were 100 hot air balloons in the vanguard, but all of a sudden, 500 people died." Li Longji pointed at the sand table as he spoke. Everyone once more looked at the sand table. The one who was staring at the sand table the most closely was Zhang Shogui. He was currently staring at the sand table, and from his perspective, the hot air balloons on the sand table were still there. This was because he didn't know what had gone wrong, unless he himself determined that the hot air balloon brigade had been completely wiped out, or if some other intelligence agent told him. Otherwise, the model of the hot air balloons on the sand table would continue to exist. But the other side didn't answer the message he sent, much less reply. This left him perplexed. An hour ago, he had been continuously receiving intelligence reports. Just what had happened in this short period of time? Could it be that the enemy flew into the sky and simultaneously controlled or killed all 100 people in the hot air balloons? Otherwise, that shouldn't be the case. Zhang Shogui held a cigar in his mouth and took a drag. As he thought about this, he felt very vexed. Over the past 2 days, he had been extremely fatigued. He had drunk a lot of tea leaves and even asked for the coffee that Wang Wan had worked so hard to obtain. In the end, he had smoked a cigar to refresh himself. But the situation on the battlefield had not improved in the slightest. First, they couldn't find the enemy. Then, when they received the news and thought that they had found the enemy, the news was suddenly cut off. Could it be that Wang Wan's main force is lying in ambush around Hangzhou? Then they're hiding really well. The referees determined that so many people wouldn't be discovered by our side unless they dug into the ground and then suddenly appeared. Then they mobilized 1,000 eagles and destroyed the hot air balloons at practically the same time, not giving anyone a chance to send message. Does she have that many eagles? It's definitely impossible. How could the people on our side betray us at the same time? That's also not right. The rules have already been set. The people on both sides would rather die than surrender. Zhang Shogui took a drag of his cigar as he muttered to himself. Lord Zhang, do you think that a cloud suddenly floated down from the sky, and with a crack it destroyed all 100 of our hot air balloons? Wang Zhongxi reminded from the side. As an advisor, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan knew that he was extremely formidable in history. But he was still young, and when he went to Jilin province, he had lost in the sand table simulation on the ship. Everyone felt that it was a pity that he wasn't allowed to participate, so they had him follow Zhang Shogui and learn from him. I think that your head was struck by lightning. There's no wind, so where did the cloud come from? Zhang Shogui glared at Wang Zhongxi. Wang Zhongxi muttered, I think so too. Recently, I've been waking up from my sleep. Fighting with Wang Wan is too stressful. I finally understand what Zhu Zanchide was feeling back then. Look at how scared you are. You don't have the guts. What are you afraid of? Does she have 3 heads and 6 arms? Go ask the intelligence team on the ship if there's any new information, Zhang Shogui said in dissatisfaction. Oh, Wang Zhongxi replied. Just as he was about to leave, a messenger came in, reporting, the Vanguard military intelligence team has sent a report. Our special ground forces have been obstructed and have lost contact with the aerial reconnaissance team. In addition, forest fires have been set on the north, south, east, and south sides of Hangzhou. The flames are so intense that they are unable to determine the extent of the fires. Wang Zhongxi slapped his thigh. Fuck, I know. They actually burned down the forest and the mountains. No wonder we lost contact with our hot air balloon team. The referees must have determined that they were burned down. Zhang Shogui glared at Wang Zhongxi again. You don't need to say it. Everyone understands. In one day, our army will land. What do you think we should do? Zhang Shogui shrunk his head and watched as the messenger took away the model representing the hot air balloons under Zhang Shogui's signal. He also placed the model representing the forest fires in several places that Zhang Shogui had suspected on the sand table. Arching an eyebrow, Zhang Shogui said, I feel like Wang Wan doesn't want us to advance. We can beat them at their own game. We can circle around them and quickly advance, catching them off guard. After saying this, Wang Zhongxi suddenly shook his head. That's not right. Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao definitely haven't thought of this. They'll definitely think of a way to launch a sneak attack while we're dividing our forces. Then we can concentrate our forces and circle around them. But what if their main force happens to be hiding in the other direction? Zhang Shogui interrupted Wang Zhongxi and closed his eyes in thought. Stop talking. Based on what you're saying, we don't need to do anything. All we need to do is wait. Wang Zhongxi resentfully circled the sand table. As he circled, he sighed. What a pity. There must have been plenty of 100-year-old wood in the forest. Why didn't they think about such a loss? Think about what? Zhang Shogui opened his eyes. If there really was a war, and they didn't burn it, then it had nothing to do with them. 100 years? 10,000-year-old trees no longer belong to them. And the people of a fallen country don't even have any dignity left. Zhang Shogui felt like he had a few ideas. Then could it be that Cuckoo chose to temporarily give up space to buy time? Lord Zhang, what can they do by buying time? They can't develop the industry and build cannons, right? Our great Tang's cannons truly were developed by those two clans. But that was because they said they wouldn't let the industry take a detour. It was the work of those two. Right now, we're fighting natives. Even if I gave them 50 years, they still wouldn't be able to build cannons. The panel of referees wouldn't agree. When Wang Zhongxi mentioned the experts of the Zhang clan and Wang clan, he became extremely cautious. Those two people had shadows in the hearts of many people, but no one was willing to directly mention them. Respect and fear coexisted. Zhang Shogui was vexed by Wang Zhongxi's analysis. Let's not think about it anymore. If we keep thinking about what they're doing, will we still fight or not? Let's move ourselves and let them think. I don't believe that they can guess what I'm thinking. Send a report to the Middle Corps. The vanguard has been obstructed at Hangzhou. After landing tomorrow, prepare to circle around from the south. Send a brigade to the shore and circle around from the north. Have the Middle Corps act accordingly. Zhang Shogui issued another order. In Wang Wan's room, she and Zhang Xiaobao had just taken a short nap. The two of them knew that with the arrival of the enemy vanguard, they would begin to get busy. They needed to conserve their energy in order to deal with an even more intense battle. Using a hot towel to wipe his face, Zhang Xiaobao brought over the booklets with the names of the important generals. As he read, he recalled, and he analyzed, his mouth never idle. Dear Madam, normally speaking, we should use a plan. We should send someone to write a letter to the Great Tang to ask for peace or offer up a lot of things so that the enemy vanguard can come to a designated location to pick them up. We can play a game of sowing discord. What do you think? Don't be so corny. There's an outsider here. Wang Wan rolled her eyes at Zhang Xiaobao. In the room, whether it was the soldiers of the Middle Corps or the messengers in charge of communicating with the central sand table, all of them earnestly busied themselves with their own tasks. The messenger closest to the two of them stubbornly stared at his shoes. They were a pair of tall cloth boots with 1,000 layers of soles. They were dark blue and had dark patterns on the surface, elegant and comfortable. They were from Lu, and Xian Air's ready-made clothing store. They could be considered a benefit given to those related to the military examination. So he was looking at them very carefully. Look, no one heard me. Zhang Xiaobao blinked at Wang Wan. Then he said to the messenger looking at the shoes, Go and ask them if they're allowed to use the strategy of sowing discord I mentioned just now. Understood. The messenger's ears finally worked, so he turned and left. You, the soldiers on the front lines, are putting their lives on the line, and you still have the mind to talk about other things, Wang Wan said unhappily. I also know that camp won't be able to return, but I also know that their sacrifice is not to make the people of their homeland cry, but to make them laugh. Damn invaders. Zhang Xiaobao angrily said. Then what is the real us? I think we're the invaders, but I believe that many people will sing our praises. Who knows who's suffering? Anyway, it's fine as long as the people of Great Tang don't feel pain. When wolves eat sheep, they don't think too much. Zhang Xiaobao's character as a so-called nationalist who had been criticized had not changed. Li Longji hadn't returned yet. He felt that the situation tonight would definitely be interesting, so he stayed to watch the show. After all, there wasn't much to do in the imperial court. If there really was something important, the officials could come to the hibiscus garden to hold an impromptu court session and suspend the military examination. Just as he was discussing how the situation would develop with a few people around him, a messenger came and told him what Zhang Xiaobao said. Before the judges could make a decision, Li Longji immediately refuted. No. What strategy of sowing discord? It's not useful to our great Tang. If Cuckoo and Xiao Bao led the troops to fight, and others tried to sow discord between them, would I believe them? Would they need to go outside and start a rebellion? If the other generals were to go out, I could even let them bring their families along. Would they be able to rebel with the few men and guns they have? They're trying to force Cuckoo and Xiao Bao to bring Great Tang's most advanced weapons, and not the cold weapons used in the military examination. The messenger nodded and turned to leave. However, Li Longji stopped him and said, I'll take a look at them personally. Just like that, the group of people squeezed into Wang Wan's command center. Wang Wan had just issued 3 orders when she saw the group of people walking in. She was astonished. Cuckoo, let me ask you. If you were outside and someone tried to sow discord, I would have you go to a designated location to retrieve something. Would you go? Li Longji asked as soon as he saw Wang Wan. I wouldn't go. Do you think I'm a fool? When a general is outside, he won't obey the orders of the emperor. Wang Wan replied without hesitation. Li Longji turned to Zhang Xiaobao and asked, Xiaobao, what about you? Me? I'll go. I'll leisurely walk the entire way and publicize my past. My great Tang is proud and they're afraid. That's why they're sending things over. Once they're close enough, I'll tell them to send the things over. Tell them to send the things over. If they don't send them over, they're not sincere. They'll set up the cannons and bombard them with all their might. If they send them over, who cares if they ask for extra money? You gave it to the great Tang emperor. But did you give it to me? This general is proud. Zhang Xiaobao and Wei Wei raised their heads and replied. Other than Wang Wan, the others were rendered speechless. In this comparison, Wang Wan was better. Xiao Bao was truly too evil. Good, with the 2 of you here, we can rest easy. Li Longji didn't feel that there was anything wrong with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's reactions, so he happily praised them. Zhang Xiaobao calmly accepted the praise. He looked at the sand table in front of him, then looked at Li Longji, and said, Your Majesty, you should go to the sand table in the center. You'll be able to see the overall situation there. There's no need. We came to chat with you all. We're idle anyway. Xiao Bao, has Xiao Bei and the others sent any news over the past 2 days? Where are they? They ran out and played so much that they forgot about us. Li Longji waved his hand indifferently and began to ask about Xiao Bei and the others. Zhang Xiaobao felt depressed. I'm in the middle of a war. You're asking about my younger siblings? You're idle, but I'm busy. Just as he was about to reject and send Li Longji away, he suddenly thought of an idea. He smiled and said to Wang Wan, Madam, let's talk to His Majesty about Xiao Bei and the others. Wang Wan was very surprised. She was still in the middle of commanding. Chat? That didn't seem right, right? When she saw Zhang Xiaobao's calm smile, she immediately understood. Xiao Bao definitely had a plan. All right, let's see what Xiao Bao wants to do. She played along and said, That's fine. I'm also tired. Today's already past. When night comes, even generals need to rest. I'll just treat it as sleeping on the battlefield. That's right. Where are Xiao Bei and the others now? Li Longji nodded. Wang Wan thought for a moment and replied, They sent a message in the evening. They said that they've already arrived in Hongnong and are on their way to Old Willow Village. They saw the construction site of the amusement park in Hongnong. It should be operational before summer. They also asked us to help them think of a way to earn money. They said that if the imperial court can exempt them from paying taxes for 3 years, they're willing to take out half of the profits for the children of Great Tang every year. Wang Wan wasn't lying. Xiao Bei and the others had indeed sent this message. When Li Longji heard the news from Xiao Bei and the others, he was very happy. In his heart, Xiao Bei was like a princess, cute and sensible. When he imagined Xiao Bei and the others writing the telegram, a smile appeared on Li Longji's face. When he thought about the telegram again, he asked Zhang Xiaobao, Xiao Bao, do you think we should exempt Xiao Bei and the others from paying taxes? They seemed to be able to earn a lot of money, right? When Li Longji mentioned this, the others remembered that Xiao Bei and the others were in Hong Nong's amusement park. When Zhang Xiaobao went there, he had already thought about it. If he deliberately thought about it, how could they earn less money? Only Zhu Zan and Princess Jincheng didn't know about this matter. The two of them looked at each other and asked Princess Jincheng. Cuckoo, tell sister, Xiao Bei and the others still have business in Hong Nong? Yeah, that's great. In the future, they won't have to worry about money. What kind of projects are there in the amusement park? Wang Wan glanced at the sand table and instantly came back to her senses. Just as she was about to speak, Zhang Xiaobao answered, Sister Nunu, Xiao Bei and the others went to kill people. You have to ask His Majesty about this. Originally, Xiao Bei and the others were playing in Wanyan County when they were instructed by a telegram from Xingqing Palace to go to Hong Nong that night. At that time, it was still raining, and there was a vast ocean in Hong Nong. When the adults fell into the water, they disappeared. However, Xiao Bei and the others didn't hesitate to use the forced march plan. They traveled in the wind and rain in the starry night. Xiao Bei and the other 9 children fell into the water many times. Xiaobao, can you not be so sad? Li Longji was amused by Zhang Xiaobao's words. Xiao Bei and the others went by themselves? Don't you know who you sent with them? Who were the only 2 fast shooters of Great Tang with? You keep saying that Xiao Bei fell into the water. Xiao Bei is an existence that can save people in the bone-chilling Yellow River. How could she be drowned? You're making me sound like a heinous villain. Nunu, listen to me. Li Longji was afraid of being slandered because he saw tears in Princess Jincheng's eyes. Xiao Bei and the others were the ones who wrote the invitation letter. There were many wrong words in the letter. Li Longji patiently explained. Princess Jincheng became happy again and praised. Xiao Bei and the others are better than other children. I knew this long ago. They should be exempted from taxes, even if they don't give half of the profits to the children of Great Tang. There's still the story of 3 million strings of cash. Zhang Xiaobao reminded again. Sure enough, Princess Jincheng looked at Li Longji curiously again, waiting for him to explain. Li Longji was most afraid of hearing about 3 million strings of cash. It was really not a lot. Regardless of whether it was the money that Xiaobao worked in the Great Tang Bank or the money that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family earned, 3 million strings of cash was just a small change. However, this money was taken out from the pocket money of Xiao Bei and the others. It was not comparable to Great Tang's annual income, but it was also the entire fortune of Xiao Bei and the others. In other words, it was all they had. Sighing, Li Longji told Princess Jincheng about the 3 million strings of cash again. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were not listening to the story. The two of them were gathered together, communicating with their lips and discussing strategy. The happiest people were none other than the generals. Li Longji couldn't hide his whereabouts, and since it didn't involve the military selection, they all received the news. It was said that His Majesty went to chat with Cuckoo and Xiaobao. It was a good thing that they had been delayed. It would be best if they could chat for an entire night. Thus, Zhang Shogui, who loved to look for opportunities, excitedly issued an order. All troops, speed up and assemble in Hangzhou. Quickly, increase the power of the steam engines. He also sent a message to the Middle Army, telling them to use this opportunity to immediately send their troops to land and not let them float in the sea. When Yang Xixuan, who was in the Middle Army, heard the news, he felt that something was wrong. Intuition, it was purely intuition. This was because he had never thought that he would be able to defeat Wang Wan in the military selection, even if she used cold weapons. He was thinking that the losses on his side would be smaller and that they would not be captured alive by Wang Wan. As for defeating Wang Wan, what kind of joke was this? The hot weapons tactics that he and the others could use were all left over from Wang Wan's experiments. Yes, although I haven't seen Wang Wan personally command artillery and air force, but I don't know why, I always have a special feeling. That is, Wang Wan is very familiar with the joint operations of the Army, Navy, and Air Force. Oh, even including electronic information warfare, a battle strategy that was just proposed by Wang Wan. Sometimes, even in his dreams, he would dream of Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao in the command center, using one order after another to have the three armies cooperate with great tacit understanding to attack and defend. If Wang Wan could really do it, then it could only be said that she had learned it well. Against this sort of person, in a situation where they were not proficient with the weapons in their hands, the chances of victory were too small. Yang Xishuan hesitated, but in the end, he still gave the order to quickly approach and disembark. He was afraid of delaying the military. In Wang Wan's command center, Princess Jincheng was already moved to tears by Li Longji's story of Xiaobei and the others. Chapter 996. Brother, Nu has decided. We will wait for Xiaobei and the others to come back and discuss with them about opening the candy house in Lesa City. We will find the best location in the city for them, and we will not charge them any taxes or housing fees. Princess Jincheng imagined that Xiaobei and his 9 children were helping the Tang Empire. They were even willing to take out all their savings for the local construction. What if they were in danger? What if they were cheated by others? That Shuichiro Watanabe almost cheated Xiaobei and the others. Therefore, she wanted Xiaobei and his 9 children to open a shop. In Tubo, she and Zuzan still had the final say. It was not a problem to make a place for them. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not care about what Princess Jincheng was thinking. They continued to study their strategy. Zhang Xiaobao used a small stick, which was a baton, to point at the sand table. He mouthed to Wang Wan, "I think, Wang, you should have already taken action. I just don't know how they are doing. Will they be harassing them from behind or blocking them from the front? The information transmission method is really troublesome." Wang Wan was also not clear about the situation at Wang Yi's side. Her sand table did not indicate the location of the fire, so the referees judged that she was not clear about the situation there. Seeing Zhang Xiaobao say this, she replied, "Don't worry. Wait for Shuiyun. We will know the situation when Shuiyun comes back." What is a hot air balloon? How far can they see with their telescopes? With Shuiyun, I am not afraid of not having a high-altitude reconnaissance expert. Li Longji did not notice that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were still busy with their own matters. He was already very helpless after hearing Princess Jincheng's words. He also understood that, as a woman, she was very caring for her children. However, the actual situation was not like that. He explained, "Nu, Xiaobei, and the others will not have any accidents. You don't know the configuration of the people around them. If I had a choice, when I go out, I would rather change my defense team with Xiaobei's. She does not need to worry that they will be cheated. She has a special think tank in her team. It's just that they usually do not speak. If they really find that the decision they want to make is not good and irreversible, they will naturally come out and stop them. Even if they are cheated, what can they do? His sister is bullied. As her brother, Xiaobao will definitely help her get back. You must not know about the various football teams and competitions in Beijing recently." "Football?" Princess Jincheng wiped her tears and asked in confusion, "Is it Kyukyu or Kuju? I've seen people play polo there as well. The ball flies very high and very accurately. It can always fly over the tallest pole between 2 vertical poles. What did this have to do with Xiaobei and the others?" "Aya, if they kick, don't fall. A few days ago, the ground in the capital was hard. Li, sure you do it." Li Longji was truly at his wit's end. He realized that his little sister was always thinking of Xiaobei and the others as weaklings. However, in reality, were Xiaobei and the others weak? With Xiaobao and Cuckoo as her brothers and sisters, she couldn't be weak even if she wanted to. Before Gao Lisher opened his mouth, a smile appeared on his face. He thought about Xiaobei and the other 9 children. Every time they went out to play, they would always give some gifts to some of them when they came back. This put him in a good mood. When he got the 2 dolls last time, he took the time to personally water them. They were already very lush. Although their actual value was very high, he was happier than if he had received gold, silver, and jewelry. He didn't lack money. What he lacked was a home and family. Thinking of this, Gao Lisher's eyes turned red as Weiwei. He laughed and said to Princess Jincheng, Xiao Bei and the others found a group of people a few days ago and formed a football team. They changed the rules. I'll accompany the princess to take a look tomorrow. In the end, they told the rules to the other football teams. When they played, they lost 3 games in a row, all by a large margin. Thus, the situation that Your Majesty described happened. Seeing his sister lose the game, Xiao Bao, as her brother, wasn't willing to accept it. So he went to command. That day, he won a game and taught them a lot of kicking skills. Before the military selection, the generals chose a football team to compete with. During that time, Xiao Bei's football team was always winning against other teams. They both had their wins and losses. It was a very common team. Xiao Bao helped his sister vent her anger. Princess Jincheng was slightly dissatisfied. How could there be such an elder brother? At this time, Empress Wang said, Nunu, it's not what you think. The team that usually competes is a substitute team. They don't receive any training at all. When they play against the 10,000 generals team, the main team will be sent out. You definitely won't be able to guess the result. 29-0. The 10,000 generals team didn't score a single goal. Until today, the 10,000 generals team has won 5 games in a row and hasn't lost a single goal. They have scored more than 20 goals in every game. So, you don't have to worry about Xiao Bei and the others being bullied. Their brother is there. Princess Jincheng was happy. At the same time, she was curious. New rules? Xiao Bao is so good? He still has time to play football? I must go and take a look tomorrow. Zhu Zan was also curious, but he was thinking more about how Xiao Bao and Cuckoo learned. When the 2 of them were together, they were practically all-rounders. That's right. There's a game tomorrow. I also want to go and take a look. It's a pity that Xiao Bao can't play in person. Otherwise, Xiao Bao, didn't you say you would accompany me to chat? What are you doing by the sand table? When Li Longji mentioned Zhang Xiaobao, he realized that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan weren't looking at him at all. Instead, they were drawing on the sand table. Me? I'm thinking about where Xiao Bei will live when we arrive. Zhang Xiaobao turned around and said with a smile, That's the sand table of the Jiangnan circuit, not the Hunan circuit. Xiao Bei and the others are in Hongnom. Li Longji very bluntly pointed out the fact that Zhang Xiaobao was lying. Yes, but Xiao Bei and the others are being investigated in the Jiangnan circuit's Jiangzhou. They'll be heading south in a few days. As her older brother, can't I take a look in advance? When we were in Jili Prefecture, Xiao Bei was still thinking about the oysters in winter for you to eat. You don't think about her, but I do. If she eats something bad and gets sick, I won't be able to bring back the delicious local food for you. Zhang Xiaobao used the move of retreating in order to advance. It seemed like he was explaining, but it was actually more ruthless than directly cursing. As expected, Li Longji's face suddenly turned red. At the same time, he was very angry. He glared at Zhang Xiaobao. His original intention was to ask why Xiaobao and Cuckoo didn't talk to him. In the end, in just a few sentences, Xiaobao made it sound like he didn't care about Xiao Bei and the others. Then you continue to watch. Don't let them get sick. If they really get sick from eating something bad, not only will I not be able to eat the food they bring back, but the most capable group of doctors you sent to them will also lose their heads. Li Longji also challenged Zhang Xiaobao. What he meant was, could Xiao Bei and the others get sick from eating something bad? This time, Princess Jincheng didn't say anything. She only covered her mouth and chuckled. Right at this time, a messenger came in from outside. He moved a small model of a white eagle that was originally placed in the sky above Hangzhou to the position of Wang Wan's middle army. He also moved the model that represented fire to the 3 directions of Hangzhou. which had a radius of 100 li. He said, according to the judgment of the judges, General Shui Yun has already received the information and returned to the Middle Army. According to General Shui Yun's IQ, he can clearly express the matter. Wang Wan smiled with satisfaction. What did Shui Yun say? General Shui Yun flew to the vicinity of your sand table and used his mouth to draw a circle of 100 li. Then, on a piece of paper with many words written on it, he used his mouth to point to the word fire. He flapped his wings in 8 directions and shook his head, indicating that there was no wind. The messenger answered Wang Wan's question according to the answer given by the judges. Is Shui Yun really that smart? Princess Jincheng knew that Shui Yun was powerful, but she didn't believe that he could convey such specific information. Zuzhenshide also had a look of disbelief. Tubo also had eagles that could detect the enemy, but what the messenger said was beyond his imagination. The messenger nodded. Princess, Shui Yun is at the center of a sand table. Zhang Ying let him perform for a while, and only then did the judges recognize his ability. It's already so late, and you're still tormenting him. His child is about to learn to fly. Well, call him over. Do you want me to go there? Zhang Xiaobao was very unhappy that the judges deliberately called Shui Yun here for the sake of judgment. Shui Yun was indeed an eagle, but more often than not, he and the others treated Shui Yun as a human. It was wrong to torment people casually. Gao Lisher walked to the door. Xiaobao, don't go out so easily. I'll go get Shui Yun. After a while, Gao Lisher came back with 2 people behind him carrying a wooden pole. Shui Yun was standing on it. It wasn't that he couldn't come over himself, but he was afraid that he would damage his claws. Also, he occasionally needed to use the power of his wings, which could easily create a strong wind. There were also a few grindstones tied to the wooden pole. There were coarse sand and fine sand, and they were used to sharpen Shui Yun's claws and beak. Normally, eagles would grind their own stones. Shui Yun was getting smarter and smarter, so he wouldn't do such a stupid thing. How could rocks be better than grindstones? It was like making a nest for children. Only a fool would pick up a branch. How could it be warmer than cotton? Zhang Ying followed behind with a cage in his hand. Zuzhenshide greeted Shui Yun as soon as he saw him. Here, we've met before. I know you're smart, but I didn't expect you to be literate. I'll say a word, and you can point to it. It's the word Jiang. Shui Yun glanced at Ancestor Cheetah and ignored him. She turned to look at Zhang Ying and called out twice. Zhang Ying had dealt with eagles all year round and said, Shui Yun wants to look at the sand table. Carry her near the sand table and be gentle. The 2 people carrying the pole carefully carried Shui Yun to the sand table. Shui Yun folded his wings tightly, afraid that the wind from his wings would disturb the model on the sand table. Zhang Ying lifted the cage. Inside were 2 injured and bandaged squirrels. Their big tails were shaking. These are the squirrels Shui Yun caught. He told me for a while, before I understood that he caught them to give them to Xiao Bei and the others to play with, so their wounds were relatively shallow. When the squirrels were sent here, they only had the skin on their backs scratched. They didn't die. The doctor applied medicine on them and fed them. He said that the wounds would heal in a few days. Everyone looked at Shui Yun. Shui Yun only nodded to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, indicating that he could understand human language. That was exactly what he meant. Zhang Xiaobao came over and touched Shui Yun's head. He said, You've worked hard. Xiao Bei and the others will be very happy when they know. It's a pity that they're not here now. They won't be able to see your children learn to fly. When the little ones start learning to fly, don't forget to give them a heads up. Although our family's power isn't big enough, we still have the ability to protect the little ones. No one around agreed with Zhang Xiaobao's words. Li Longji's reaction was especially obvious. Xiaobao, this isn't called modesty, it's called hypocrisy. General Shui, it's a waste of your ability to catch squirrels. You should be proud of yourself. How about this? I'll confer you a low-ranking official, General Yin Hui, with a goldfish bag. What do you think? Shui Yun didn't understand this time. He looked at Li Longji and then at Zhang Xiaobao. Xiaobao pointed to the goldfish bag at his waist and said, "The goldfish bag is this thing. You don't usually use it." General Yun Hui is a third-rank official, a lower third-rank official. He's the same as Xiao Bei and the others. Anyway, it's about the same. After a few words and gestures, Shui Yun finally understood. He nodded and whistled at Li Longji. Perhaps he didn't know what a lower third-rank official position meant, but it was a good thing to know. Zhang Xiaobao said again, "Shui Yun, they don't believe in your ability. Let them test you." "Your Majesty, test Shui Yun. Don't ask questions that are too difficult," Zhang Xiaobao said to Li Longji again. The crowd soon began to pay attention to Shui Yun. For example, they asked what 1 plus 1 was, what language Shui Yun could understand, and so on. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan took the opportunity to run to the sand table to discuss the situation of the battle. Wang Yi acted. When there was no wind, he made his own decision and roasted the hot air balloon of the enemy vanguard. Fortunately, there was Shui Yun otherwise, more people would have died. Even so, they won't be able to easily rush over and find our main force. Do they really think they're invincible just because they have a hot air balloon for reconnaissance? Even if they use a plane for reconnaissance, I can prevent them from finding our main force. Wang Yi did a good job. I hope they can stall for more time. A war is like this. You know that the troops left behind will die, but you have to make a decision. Wang Wan's words made one feel helpless, but her expression remained resolute. A marshal could not be weak, or else the soldiers would have sacrificed themselves in vain. Even if she had to grit her teeth, she had to cut her own flesh. Zhang Xiaobao used his baton to point at the burning area. A mountain fire can't be extinguished just because you say so, especially in an autumn environment. The vanguard can only make two choices. The first is to stay put and wait for the army behind them to arrive. Wang Wan continued, "The second is to take a risk and charge forward, demonstrating the value of the vanguard. We already know that the vanguard of the enemy is Zhang Shugui, who told him to run over to the sand table and make a ruckus. He saved us the trouble of analyzing the path and method of the vanguard." After Wang Wan finished speaking, she turned to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao pondered for a few moments, then said, "Zhang Shogui's personality is rather easy to grasp. In my judgment, he won't split his army into two groups and advance side by side to circle around the burning mountain region. He'll concentrate his army on one path and then snake forward, bringing in aerial reconnaissance units from the central army. Yes, I estimate that his hot air balloon unit will be completely wiped out. I don't believe that they'll temporarily adjust the ratio of the various groups in the army structure you've been teaching them. One reason is that they're used to fighting according to the army structure you've taught them, and the other reason is that they were tormented so badly that night that they couldn't gather together to discuss the changes and come to a consensus." When Zhang Xiaobao said this, he did not use lip language, speaking directly. Li Longji and the others were conversing with Shui Yun, but when they heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, they immediately fell silent and listened to Zhang Xiaobao's analysis. Wang Wan didn't care. Right now, she and Xiaobao were discussing war. She was confident that even if Li Longji wasn't satisfied and wanted the two of them to chat with him, she could directly refuse. Thus, she said, "Based on the intelligence we've gathered over the past few days, Zhang Shogui is an opportunist. He has enough offense, but not enough defense. My guess is that he'll send a small group to advance from another path, and then use the telegraph to quickly transmit information. Does he really think that he's invincible just because he has a radio station? With every advantage, there's always a disadvantage. Let Shui Yun rest. Otherwise, if they lose, they'll think that they lost because of Shui Yun and won't accept it. This time, I'll let them know that rapid transmission of information can also be used by the enemy." Li Longji and the others were watching. When they suddenly saw Wang Wan point her baton at the location of Mount Wangshan and heard Wang Wan's words, They suddenly felt that the generals were about to face an extremely difficult test. Zhang Xiaobao didn't pay attention to the others. Looking at the location Wang Wan pointed at, he nodded. Okay, if we eat up the enemy's main vanguard at Mount Huangshan, we'll probably have to sacrifice at least 10,000 people. You're planning to use the sparrow tactic to set up a path, using the enemy's advanced intelligence network to confuse and mobilize the enemy's main force. Then the soldiers we'll send down will have to fight on their own. The enemy's artillery fire is still very fierce, and my logistics won't be able to keep up. When Wang Wan heard Zhang Xiaobao's analysis, she chuckled. How could that be? Why would their artillery fire be so fierce? Do they think that artillery shells are sesame seeds? If they put them in their pockets, they'll have a whole bunch. I want to see how Zhang Shogui will judge if I give them a field of fire. At this point, Wang Wan turned to the messenger and said, Orders. The scouts of the Central Army are to act as messengers and use the fastest speed to pass down the new orders. The commanders of the scout teams are to gather the Central Army for a meeting. Soon, all the commanders of the Central Army scout teams were present. They ignored Li Longji and the others, treating them as if they didn't exist. All of them were looking at Wang Wan. Orders. Send the orders to the other units. Each unit is to divide into 100-man teams. Pay attention to concealment and scatter to lure the enemy. With Hangzhou as the central line from east to west, carry out a serpentine movement. If you discover a small group of enemy troops north of the central line, work with the nearby friendly units to surround and annihilate them. If you discover a small group of enemy troops south of the central line, there's no need to engage them. Quickly retreat and force your way out of the enemy's line of sight. You're not allowed to merge with other units. If the enemy pursues you, continue to scatter and fight on your own. If you hide in the forest, set fire to the forest. The goal is to lure the enemy's main force to the foot of Mount Huangshan. Logistics commanders, listen up. After Wang Wan finished arranging the messengers, she continued to talk about logistics. Zhang Xiaobao gave a clean military salute and said, Chief Logistics Commander Zhang Xiaobao has arrived. Zhang Xiaobao, I order your troops to supply our main forces with bows and arrows without delay. Wang Wan was not Zhang Xiaobao's wife at this moment, but a real commander. Zhang Xiaobao also didn't treat Wang Wan as his wife. He said seriously, Zhang Xiaobao accepts the order. Messengers, pass on my order. Dispatch messengers from the logistics camp. Dispatch messengers to each division as soon as possible. Contents. In the logistics camp, except for the 1st and 2nd Independent Brigades, the ambush troops will not move. The logistics and supply team of the 1st Logistics Division, 1st Logistics Division, 1st and 4th Brigades, 2nd Division, 1st and 2nd Brigade, 1st and 2nd Regiment, 3rd Division, 1st and 3rd Regiment, 1st and 3rd Regiment, 4th Division, 2nd Brigade, 1st and 2nd Regiment, 1st and 3rd Regiment, 4th Division, 2nd Brigade, 1st and 3rd Regiment, 3rd Division, 2nd Brigade, 1st and 2nd Regiment, 4th Division, 3rd and 4th Independent Battalions, 4th Division, 3rd and 4th Independent Battalions. All will move at the same time. Gather all 20,000 troops. Bring food and long-range weapon supplies, and quickly deliver them to Mount Huangshan. The other two ND divisions, 3rd Brigade, the 2nd Brigade of the 4th Brigade, the 3rd Regiment of the 2nd Brigade of the 3rd Division, the 2nd Regiment of the 1st Brigade of the 4th Division, the 5th Regiment of the 1st Independent Regiment of the 1st Brigade of the 1st Division, and the 5th Regiment of the 1st Independent Regiment of the 1st Brigade of the 1st Division. If the feint attack team does not receive the order within 10 days, they will move along the southernmost border of the Jiangnan roadmap, moving forward on their own to lure or engage the enemy's middle army. Chapter 997. Upon hearing Zhang Xiaobao's order, Li Longji and the others finally realized that while it was true that Zhang Xiaobao did not participate in military matters, this did not mean that he did not understand military strategy. That's right. Back then, Xiao Bao was the one in command of the logistics camp in Izhou. He made it so that the vanguard didn't have to worry about the terrain or the weather, allowing them to move unimpeded. Who said that logistics couldn't provide support? Who said that the rear guard had to be on the other side of the field? Goalkeepers also have times when they can assist. When Li Longji heard Zhang Xiaobao's order to attack, he finally understood. When the great Tang attacked Tibet, the first to display its ability was the logistics camp in Izhou. Just because they did not display their abilities did not mean that they did not know how to fight. The vanguard of the generals Zhang Shogui still did not know that Zhang Xiaobao had pushed the logistics camp forward and feigned an attack to confuse him. He was still staring at the sand table, enduring the immense pressure. There was only one thought in his mind: faster, faster. Lord Zhang, what is your holiness worried about? In one day, our entire army will come ashore. At that time, our guns and cannons will fire. I don't believe that they will be able to resist. Wang Zhongxi had also heard that the emperor had come to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's room to chat. He believed that his chance had come, but when he saw Zhang Shogui's brow furrowed, he tried to persuade him. You don't know. Things aren't as simple as you think. Since Wang Wan arranged for people to light the fire, she definitely has a rough idea of what we might do. I have to take advantage of the fact that they aren't well informed to move faster, so that they won't be able to react in time. Zhang Shogui pointed his baton at the location of the fire on the sand table as he spoke. Wang Zhongxi also found a baton and pointed it at a model of the river next to Hangzhou. Then wouldn't it be better if we didn't get off the ship and just went against the current to Zhujiang? That way, our gunboats would be able to use them. You're dreaming. You can think of using a ship. So how could Wang Wan and the others not? If we stop in the middle of the sea, we'll have a chance to escape when the fleet is suddenly attacked and run to Zhujiang. How wide is that river? When the time comes, they will put down a lot of sharp logs upstream, or use fire ships to attack from upstream. Where will we hide? We still have a lot of supplies on board, but they'll all be gone by then. Zhang Shogui used his baton to draw a line across the Zhujiang River, effectively rejecting this suggestion. Wang Zhongxi opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but in the end, he held himself back. He walked to the side and sat on a chair. He leaned his head back, intending to rest. These past few days had been tiring for him, and he hadn't had a good night's sleep. Now that the battle was about to begin, he could finally relax. They were not afraid that they could not win, but they could not find them previously. Although their own team had been tricked and lost all of their vanguards and hot air balloon troops, they had finally met someone. They could do whatever they wanted in the future and would not have to worry about finding them anymore. While this was what Wang Zhongxi was thinking, Zhang Shogui was thinking from a different angle. He circled the sand table twice and softly muttered, "Is this Wang Wan's vanguard, or is this a scout?" If it was a scout, they would have either run away or been burned to death. After muttering to himself, he opened up the map. This map was much more detailed, unlike the sand table in front of him. Due to the small number of maps that had been made, a batch had been made at the last minute, so the quality could not compare to the earlier ones. Upon looking at the map, Zhang Shogui once more narrowed his eyes and muttered, "If it's a vanguard, where would Wang Wan's main force be? They don't have good information, and they don't have telescopes for reconnaissance, so not good." As Zhang Shogui spoke, he suddenly shouted, waking Wang Zhongxi from his sleep. Wang Zhongxi placed a hand on his chest and looked over in confusion. "Lord Zhang, what happened? Do you know that our army is in danger?" Wang Zhongxi could only get down from his chair and return to the sand table. He looked at Zhang Shogui and waited for his explanation. Zhang Shogui gravely nodded. "That's right. We ran into a very troublesome situation. Only then did I remember that they have hawks. Other hawks might be bad at delivering information, but the water cloud will definitely be acknowledged by the referees. If that water cloud flies 10,000 meters into the air, it can see our layout from very high up in the sky. Won't it tell Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan when it gets back? You agree with this theory, right?" As he spoke, sweat began to drip down Zhang Shogui's forehead. He had no idea how much Wang Wan had learned about the situation on his side through the water cloud. Wang Zhongxi and the other officers in the vanguard also sensed the threat from the sky. Some of them even raised their heads to look up. There was a canopy above, so there was naturally no water cloud, and the water cloud did not need to actually fly. Then, what do? Our every move is probably under the control of Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao. There's no way we can fight this battle. That hawk flies so high that we can't shoot it down with our guns. It can see us, but we know nothing about it. In other words, Wang Wan can make arrangements according to our arrangements at any time. When Wang Zhongxi thought about the water cloud, he felt very helpless. If he had known that this would happen, he would have never allowed Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao to carry the water cloud. Just as everyone in the room was feeling troubled by Shui Yun's existence, a messenger came in from outside and said to Wang Zhongxi and the others, His Majesty said that from now on, General Shui Yun will become a normal eagle and won't be as smart as the real him. Really? Did Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan agree? Wang Zhongxi excitedly asked when he heard that the water cloud would not be used. It was Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan who proposed not to use the water cloud. They said that using the water cloud would be bullying you, the messenger replied. After saying this, he left, leaving the officers in the room looking at each other in dismay. They're looking down on us. Wang Zhongxi was clearly very dissatisfied that he had been looked down on. Zhang Shogui was neither happy nor angry. With a calm expression, he said, It seems that Wang Wan wants to move against us, or else she wouldn't have specifically mentioned the water cloud. When the other generals heard this, they all nodded in agreement. If Wang Wan continued to hide, the water cloud wouldn't be too important to others. It was impossible for 100,000 people to hide without leaving a single trace. But now, Wang Wan had emphasized the water cloud, which meant that she had already made arrangements. The battle was about to begin, and they were worried that with the water cloud's existence, they would not be able to display their abilities. Although this was a military examination for Wang Wan, wasn't it also a sort of test for the officers? With this thought in mind, the officers calmed down and became more serious. They reckoned that after this competition, someone would judge them. If they performed poorly in this military examination, their positions might be changed. If the emperor really promoted him from a 4th grade official to a 6th grade official, it would not only be a difference of 2 grades, but also the salary and the land at home. Of course, the gifts given by the Zhang family and the Wang family would also be gone. They would only give gifts to the officials who could attend the imperial court. Wang Zhongxi thought of this and decided not to rest. He stood next to the sand table and pondered, muttering to himself as he pondered, This matter is troublesome. If I don't perform well in this military examination, will I be kicked out of the academy? Then my benefits will be gone. In the future, if I want to eat the food of Savant's restaurant, I'll have to pay for it all myself. Also, the dried seafood will also be gone. If I want to be promoted in the future, it will be difficult. No, I have to be more serious. I can't make a fool of myself. With Wang Zhongxi's words, the emotions of the other officers also fluctuated. Just now they had only had this thought. Now that they heard someone directly describe the problem, it would be a lie to say that they didn't feel pressured. Very soon, this news spread to the various rooms, allowing everyone to understand that the water cloud had become stupid. At the same time, it also made many people worried, afraid that they would fail this examination. Lord Zhang, what should we do? Wang Zhongxi became serious and began to think of a strategy. Zhang Shogui watched as the model of the ship that represented their team was slowly moved by messengers on the sea. He was very anxious. He wished that he could just take the model and place it at the port of Hangzhou. That way, he could immediately give the next order. But now he had to wait. He had to wait at least 6 hours for the model of the ship to reach the location he needed. This was the most painful matter. Who knew what kind of arrangements Wang Wan had made? Hearing someone ask, Zhang Shogui lowered his head and carefully looked at the sand table. Suddenly, He pointed at the sand table and said, "This is Mount Huangshan, and this is Mount Linli. There are 2 mountains. If I were Wang Wan, I would arrange for the soldiers to hide here. Mount Huangshan is high and steep." After saying this, without waiting for others to express their opinion, Zhang Shogui shook his head again. No, if that was the case, the enemy wouldn't even need to attack Mount Huangshan. They could just send the hot air balloon troops and drop bombs. The other troops could then surround them. Wouldn't that be forcing them to their deaths? Wang Wan is definitely not that stupid. Otherwise, she would have been caught in Tubo. At this point, Zhang Shogui raised his head and looked at the officers around him. They nodded without thinking, because what Zhang Shogui said was right. Who would send themselves to their deaths? How could Wang Wan not know the application of such a simple tactic? Thus, even if her main force was not too far from Hangzhou, it would definitely not appear in Mount Huangshan. Hearing the analysis, Wang Zhongxi said, "Then shouldn't we go around the burned area from the south and directly find the enemy troops to attack? After all, in the mountains, our cannons won't be easy to transport and will move very slowly." "No, we won't go from the south, we'll go from the north. I know that the cannons won't be easy to transport, but we still have to go from the north. We'll have the 1st Brigade go from the south and increase our momentum to confuse the enemy. The main force of our vanguard is 15,000 people. When we move forward, we have to snake our way forward, not directly. It's best if we can capture all of their scouts so that they can't transmit any information. After that, we'll go all the way to Mount Huangshan and wait for the Middle Army to send us the follow-up supplies." Zhang Shogui really did as Zhang Xiaobao had analyzed. He had chosen to snake forward without the slightest error. But while others might not understand, Wang Zhongxi was very confused. He asked, "General Zhang, why must we go to Mount Huangshan and snake forward?" Zhang Shogui gave a self-satisfied smile and said, "Snake forward can make it difficult for the enemy to determine if we are the main force or not. Even if the enemy scouts are hiding, they will worry that we have surrounded them. The scouts won't be able to see how we snake forward, but that our troops are moving back and forth from the north to the south. This way, they will think that we haven't discovered their main force and are currently searching for them. Since it's a search, it naturally won't be the main force. And our path forward is also toward Mount Huangshan. Do you think that Wang Wan will think of a way to eat up this portion of our troops?" When she lectured us, she said that besides achieving the true strategic objective, what is even more important is constantly wiping out the enemy's strength. She said that we can't just give up on a tactical arrangement because the enemy has too few people. We have to persevere and find a way to obtain small victories. When these small victories are gathered together, they will become a great victory. When the generals heard this, they felt that it was very reasonable and nodded once more. Wang Zhongxi excitedly clapped his hands and said, "Oh, so it turns out that Lord Zhang wants to draw Wang Wan's troops to Mount Huangshan and then wipe them out in one fell swoop, or at least kill off as much of their strength as possible. I think this plan is feasible because Wang Wan uses cold weapons. If she wants to directly clash with us, let alone 100,000, even 1 million wouldn't be enough to kill us. So she can only think of a way to scatter our troops and then concentrate her superior forces, slowly using numbers to win. I'll go and arrange it now. Not only do we need to snake forward, we also need to tell the soldiers that when we advance, we need to loudly announce that we are going to Mount Huangshan to rest and reorganize, and that the mission of searching for the enemy must be completed." After saying this, Wang Zhongxi really did go to find a messenger to give the order. The rest of the generals also continued to look at the sand table, especially the area around Mount Huangshan. They imagined that Wang Wan's troops would be fooled and then completely wiped out at the foot of Mount Huangshan. Cui Shi was one of them. When he looked at the sand table, the more he looked, the more he felt that victory was in sight. This time, even if they couldn't completely wipe out Wang Wan's 100,000 troops, they would be able to wipe out the troops she sent, which had a great advantage in terms of numbers. Looking at the model representing Mount Huangshan, Cui Shi echoed and said, "I know why Lord Zhang wants to come to Mount Huangshan. Although the road is not easy to walk on, once we reach Mount Huangshan, we can set up the cannons and attack from above. At the same time, even if we don't have the hot air balloon brigade, we don't need to wait for the Central Army to send them over. We still have the glider wing brigade. Jumping down from the mountain is much easier than jumping down from the mast. I don't believe that the referees will be able to say that Mount Huangshan is windless. Correct, precisely so. Perhaps many people think that sending an army to Mount Huangshan isn't a good idea, but it's precisely because other people think this way that Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao also think the same way. They know that it won't be easy for my main force to go to Mount Huangshan, so they must have sent a small force. So this is our chance. As long as we win this battle, we won't need to be on edge, and we can also let the Central Army, the Rear Army, and the logistics officers relax. As Zhang Shogui spoke, he let out a long sigh of relief. He had truly been tormenting these last few days, and now he needed a victory to raise morale. To be more precise, it was to allow his generals to relax, so that they could perform better. Zhang Shogui had only spoken of this plan in the vanguard's room. He didn't have a concrete plan, so he couldn't tell the Central Army for the time being. Just as he had expected, Yang Xixuan in the Central Army had been receiving non-stop reports from the vanguard for the last few days. Other than not being able to find the vanguard, they just couldn't find the vanguard. Just as they were about to make contact with the vanguard's hot air balloon brigade was shot down. They hadn't even seen the vanguard, but the vanguard had already been lost. The entire army was under immense pressure. Yang Xixuan had also received news that the vanguard would be able to reach Hangzhou tomorrow. At the same time, he ordered the Central Army to hurry over as quickly as possible. One reason was to continue using the 5,000 soldiers as bait, and the other was to work with the vanguard as quickly as possible to open up the situation. When he thought of the current situation, Yang Xixuan didn't even have the mood to eat. He looked at the egg-fried rice and soup that the kitchen had brought over, as well as a few plates of pickled vegetables. Several times, he wanted to pick up his chopsticks to eat, but he stopped every time. He said to the person in charge of taking care of them, "Take them away first. I can't eat them. Do you have cucumbers? Wash one for me. I'm grinding my teeth." The person quickly went to wash the cucumbers and brought them back. After taking a bite of the cucumbers, Yang Xixuan endured the pain of waiting for the vanguard to reach the shore. He said to the other generals, "If the vanguard fights with Wang Wan, we have to be very careful, because Wang Wan is definitely someone who likes to command battles on multiple fronts. If we are careless and think that she can't find the time to send people to scheme against us, then we are gravely mistaken. I think she even wants us to think this way." There were also many generals in the room where Yang Xixuan was. They all listened carefully, and at the same time, they continuously passed down orders to command their own part of the fleet. Yang Xixuan continued, "What I want to know the most right now is where Wang Wan's troops are hiding, and what methods do they have to use cold weapons against hot weapons. Since we haven't docked yet, you should all think about it. If it were you, and you were asked to use cold weapons to face the cannons and guns, what would you do to minimize your losses while ensuring the effectiveness of your attacks?" "Sir Yang, I thought of something." Someone stood out from the crowd in the room. It seemed that he had considered this question before. He said, "It's actually very simple. I just need to not be discovered by the enemy in advance, and then lie in ambush on both sides of the path that the enemy needs to take. When they pass by and we suddenly attack, their cannons will be useless. A bayonet on a gun is not as good as a cold weapon. As for their pistols, they have very few of them, and at the same time, it doesn't mean that they will definitely kill with a shot. Other than this sneak attack method, I also thought of using bows and arrows. Use a large number of bows and arrows and find a high place to shoot down. That way, it won't be worse than bullets. For example, there are many mountains on this sandbox. Here, this is a very big mountain, Yellow Mountain. If I were Wang Wan, I would ambush people here and think of a way to lure the vanguard over. Even if the price is high, as long as I can eat the vanguard, everything will be worth it." After this person finished speaking, he retreated. However, Yang Xishuan's eyes lit up. He was not interested in the two ideas that this person had suggested, but in the yellow mountain that this person had mentioned. His gaze immediately landed on the model of the yellow mountain, and then he looked at the 100-li radius of the forest that had been burned. He worriedly said, "It's possible that Wang Wan really did place the main force on the yellow mountain. If that's really the case, the vanguard is in danger. This won't do. I have to tell them. Someone, send a telegram to the vanguard." The Central Army guesses that Wang Wan's main force is in the Yellow Mountain area. The vanguard should not move and wait for the Central Army to arrive. After sending the message, Yang Xishuan ate the cucumber bite by bite. He anxiously paced back and forth in the room, afraid that the vanguard would not take his message seriously. It didn't take long for the vanguard to receive a signal from the radio. Someone wrote down Yang Xishuan's message on a piece of paper and sent it to Zhang Shouge. Upon seeing the words on the paper, Zhang Shouge smiled and said to the others, "The Central Army has sent a message saying that they're guessing that Wang Wan's main force is in the Yellow Mountain area. They want us to wait and wait for the Central Army to arrive before moving." Haha, Lord Yang is very interesting. All the generals chuckled. Zhang Shougui's words were very interesting. They all understood that the people in the Central Army wanted to contribute, but they were also worried that their vanguard would get a higher score if they killed too many enemies. This was a competition between two parties. When the time came, the rewards would be different depending on who won or lost. This was especially true of the Yellow Mountain area. They had already analyzed the situation. If Wang Wan really dared to place the main force on the Yellow Mountain area, their vanguard would not even need to fight. They could just surround the area and guard the key entrance. When the Central Army and Rear Army arrived, their vanguard would be able to take down the Yellow Mountain area in one fell swoop. Not only did Zhang Shougue think this way, he was also a little dissatisfied with Yang Xishuan and Wei Wei. The greatest taboo in battle was to steal credit, but now they were telling him not to advance and to wait in place. If that was really the case, what need was there for the vanguard? Wouldn't it have been better for everyone to come up together? If he really waited when the martial selection ended, he might be accused of delaying the battle. If that really happened, would he, Yang Xishuan, take the blame? With this thought, Zhang Shougue immediately sent a message to Yang Xishuan. When Yang Xishuan saw the message, he helplessly shook his head. "I'm not in the mood for that. It's just a misunderstanding." "Fine, you're right. If Wang Wan really is on the Yellow Mountain, then the vanguard just needs to guard the key entrances and exits, and not let the main force come out. Once we reach the place, we can attack together. Naturally, we can eliminate Wang Wan." Going by that logic, it's not wrong. Wang Wan probably also understands this principle, so she won't run to the Yellow Mountain. After analyzing the situation, Yang Xishuan regretted sending this message to the vanguard. He shouldn't have made them suspect that he was trying to steal credit from them. Why bother? But he also knew that his explanation was useless. The other party wouldn't believe him. Handing the report to a general beside him, Yang Xishuan said, "Pass it around. Then think about where Wang Wan is most likely to be." When everyone saw the message, it was the person who had suggested the idea. At this time, he spoke again. "I feel that Wang Wan had people light up the mountain because she wants to delay our attack. They need to set up a huge trap to trap us when the time comes. For example, if they empty a mountain or block a river, when we see that the river is shallow and halfway across, they will release the water. The people who cross will panic and lose a lot of their fighting strength. Those who don't cross will be naked on the other side of the river. In reality, this has a huge impact on the morale of the army. The judges will definitely make this judgment. Thus, Wang Wan needs to buy as much time as possible. I think she's no longer on the Jiangnan East Road, but on the Jiangnan West Road. We need to speed up and catch up." Yang Xishuan nodded and felt that it made sense. It was normal for Wang Wan to do something illogical. When they were fighting Tubo, didn't they do the same thing in the village? That's right. Digging a tunnel can help us avoid detection from above. Furthermore, if we dig a tunnel ahead of time and make the longest tunnel out of the night watchman's field of vision, they can wait for our people to arrive at that place and launch a sneak attack at night. It seemed that they didn't know when they would set up camp and where they would choose, but those who knew that the place to set up camp was similar. If Wang Wan and the others used a portion of their troops to delay or attract their troops, then it would affect the speed of their troops. When they needed to rest, their troops would be able to reach the place where Wang Wan and the others had dug a tunnel in advance. Then it would be easy for them to be ambushed at night. Yes, this is very important. We can use a tunnel. I have to tell the vanguard in case they fall for it. Yang Xishuan rubbed his hands excitedly and was about to send a message to the vanguard when he suddenly remembered that he had sent a message just now. In the end, it made both sides unhappy. This time, it seemed that he shouldn't be so meddlesome. Yang Xishuan stopped calling for a messenger to send the message and said to the generals around him, "After we get ashore, no matter where we go, we have to investigate under our feet clearly, especially under the stove in the house. See if there are any tunnels, wells, withered trees, etc." Everyone nodded. They felt that every bush and tree was an enemy. They hadn't even met Wang Wan's troops, and they were already scared by themselves. Yang Xishuan also realized this problem. He didn't have a plan in mind. Who could he blame? If there was anyone to blame, it was Wang Wan, who was always lecturing them. When she was teaching, she was really unscrupulous. So when he faced her today, he would definitely think of the situation during her lecture and use that to analyze what kind of method she would use. At this time, another person also spoke up. "I think that Wang Wan has another choice, and that is to use their commoners to disguise themselves as soldiers to confuse us, while their main forces will circle around the vanguard and catch us off guard. They might even go around the vanguard to attack the rear camp and go around the rear camp to attack the supply team. What we need to do is to increase our surveillance. We can't let them pass by us and cause trouble for our allies." Yang Xishuan nodded lightly and didn't make any comments. He realized that if they responded according to everyone's thoughts, not to mention 100,000 people, even 1,000,000 people wouldn't be able to do it. Thus, he decided not to think about it blindly. It was better to send them ashore as soon as possible. At this time, compared to the confusion of the generals who felt that anything was possible, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were much more relaxed. Their strategy was very clear. As for how the enemy would choose their route and method, the two of them weren't very worried. The information they gathered was very useful in terms of probability. Under normal circumstances, if a person's actions could be different from what psychology said, then in a tense situation, that person's actions would be what they were supposed to do and not change their train of thought. Li Longji was still talking to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. This time, they didn't talk about Shui Yun. Li Longji had just been diverted by Zhang Xiaobao and gave Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan some time to study their strategy. When he found out, he didn't say anything. Now that the two of them weren't very busy, he asked Zhang Xiaobao. Xiao Bei and the others said that they want to give him tax exemption. This way, they're willing to spend half of the money on the Tang children. We believe that they will definitely keep their word and won't spend less money after tax exemption. But what we don't understand is that the tax actually doesn't even cover half of their profits, right? Why would they rather spend more money but still ask for tax exemption? Li Longji recalled the matter mentioned in the news that Xiao Bei and the others sent back. He didn't understand this point, so he asked Zhang Xiaobao about it. It wasn't just him. Other than Wang Wan, no one else understood. Princess Jin Cheng helped Xiao Bei and the others think. "I think it should be like this. Xiao Bei and the others want to take out more money for the children, but they want to make more profits. At the same time, they feel that the tax they pay might not be used on the children. So they thought of this method to use tax to exchange for more money to help the Tang children. They're so smart, they'll be more successful when they grow up." Li Longji was stunned by Princess Jin Cheng's words. He shook his head helplessly and said, "It's not like that at all. They must have used some method to let them not only not pay tax, but also take out half of the money to spend on the Tang children. The benefits they get, or rather the money they earn, are more than paying tax directly. Isn't that right, Xiaobao? Zhang Xiaobao's eyes showed a confused expression. He shook his head. I don't know. I've been busy with the military selections. I don't have time to analyze this. It's probably a welfare measure that they came up with. Li Longji didn't believe Zhang Xiaobao's words at all. He looked at Wang Wan. Wang Wan's eyes were much clearer than Zhang Xiaobao's. She smiled and said, "That's what I think. Xiao Bei and the others are thinking that if they are exempted from taxes, they can use this amusement park as their headquarters in the future, which is their flagship store. Then, as for the subsidiary companies, they can merge the tax accounts with the headquarters. But the money for half of the profits would only be paid by the main company, not the subsidiary companies. In this way, Xiao Bei and the others would actually get a lot of benefits." Li Longji felt that it made sense. Just as he was about to agree, he thought of something and shook his head. "That's impossible. When your family does business, they never use such methods. This is called cheating. You don't cheat your own country. Since that's the case, it's impossible for Xiao Bei and the others. If they really need money, they can find Xiaobao and ask him for ideas." Moreover, Xiaobao didn't stop them, which means that Xiaobao already knew what they were going to do. "And you, Cuckoo, you almost fooled me. I don't believe that you don't know either. The two of you must have realized that Xiao Bei and the others' plan would benefit you greatly. You were afraid that I would scheme against you, so you played dumb with me. I deny it." Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan spoke at the same time, then laughed together. Li Longji was very depressed. Seeing Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan put on an expression that said, "I won't say anything even if you beat me to death." He waved his hand helplessly and let the two of them continue to study the strategy. He called Gao Lishir and the others over and sat in a circle to study how Xiao Bei and the others could take out half of the profits and still make more money than if they were not taxed. Empress Wang sat there and didn't make a sound. For her, this was a very difficult thing to do. She preferred to watch Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao play with the sand table instead of studying economic matters. Wu Huifei's eyes turned back and forth. She was also thinking about how to benefit from this matter. Since the situation that Wang Wan said would not happen with the tax exemption, then no matter how she calculated, she couldn't figure out how Xiao Bei and the others would benefit from it. It's so strange. Could it be that Xiao Bao helped to come up with this idea? Xiao Bei and the others seemed to. Wu Huifei thought carefully for a while, but in the end, she couldn't figure it out. She looked at Zhang Xiaobao and said, "That's impossible. If it was Xiao Bao's idea, Xiao Bao would have said it himself. This isn't the first time I've dealt with him like this. Although I always end up at a disadvantage in the end, I can say that it's already very difficult for others to lie." Li Longji denied Wu Huifei's statement and praised himself. He was a little proud. Gao Lishir echoed, "I don't think it was Xiao Bao's idea. Xiao Bei and the others have already thought of many good ideas. They always stay with Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, so their way of thinking is almost the same. As for the idea of not paying taxes and taking out half the profits, I can't figure it out for the time being. Unless it's like this. The tax they have to pay is more than half of the profits they take out. Otherwise, it's not worth it. But if it's not worth it, they won't deliberately say it." Gao Lishir said a lot, but in the end it was useless. Princess Jincheng blinked and listened. She was very much looking forward to Xiao Bei and the others getting more benefits from the tax exemption. Such a good group of children should be rewarded more. Even though Zhu Zhenchide was once the king of Tubo and controlled the whole of Tubo, he wasn't proficient in economic matters. He was far from being proficient in military matters. The only thing he knew about economic matters was that he used to trade with Tang Dynasty. He used horses, cows, sheep, and other products to exchange for tea leaves, salt, and iron from Tang Dynasty. Of course, there was also the simplest method, and that was to find a way to marry a princess of Tang Dynasty. regardless of whether the princess was a real princess or a princess who was promoted to a princess at the last minute. As long as he married her, he would get a lot of things in craftsmen. In the past, it wasn't only Tubo who did this. The Tujue and some tribes in the north of Hebei province also did this. Everyone had their eyes on the additional benefits of marriage. But later on, as Xiaobao and Cuckoo gradually grew up, Tang Dynasty stopped sending women out. Even when they sent people to pay tribute, the return gift was so light that the value of the tribute wasn't even enough. Now, although he didn't have to worry about Tubo not having enough food because Tang Dynasty would send them, he still didn't understand economic matters. This was really too difficult. Zuzhenchai thought and said, "Why don't we ask Xiaobei and the others? They should know their own ideas." "We can't ask," Li Longji quickly said. "If we ask them, won't it make me look stupid? If the 9 of them can think of a method, I don't believe that I can't think of one myself." Everyone fell silent again as they tried to analyze the situation. After a quarter of an hour, Li Longji slapped his thigh and said, "I know what's going on now. They must have found out that if they want to pay taxes, then they have to pay a proportional tax that includes both costs and profits. In other words, their cost is higher and their profit is smaller. If they pay tax according to the method I said, they will earn less. It's better to take out half of the profit. For example, they sell a piece of candy for 100 copper coins, but the profit is only 30 copper coins. If the tax is 20%, they have to pay 20 copper coins. But after the tax is exempted, even if they take out half of the profit and use it for other purposes, it will only be 15 copper coins. In this way, they will pay 5 copper coins less. How about it? Am I right? Xiaobao, did you hear that? Tell me, am I right? Li Longji analyzed and felt that his analysis was completely correct. He was proud of himself again. Zhang Xiaobao smiled and replied, "I don't know either. Maybe it's right. I'm looking at the terrain here. It's autumn now. If it's winter, I don't know if it will snow heavily. If it does, it won't be easy to hide. It'll be difficult." Wang Wan didn't need Li Longji to ask and said, "So you can think like that. Amazing. After this busy period, I'll get someone to report it and ask Xiaobei. At least I have to understand what they are doing. The profit ratio is so small." Chapter 998. When Li Longji heard Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's answers, he immediately understood that he was wrong. Xiaobei's amusement park project definitely earned a lot of profits, and the ratio was very high. Otherwise, the two of them would have admitted it just now. In this situation, he was wrong, and they did not want to directly deny his words, so they gave such an answer. "We don't believe that we can't think of something. Everyone, continue to think. It's just a matter of money," Li Longji said in a fit of pique, and then he began to think hard, looking very serious. The others also thought with him, and no one disturbed Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Li Longji did not know how many losses he had brought to the generals after he went to Wang Wan's room. The generals all thought that since the emperor was talking to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, the two of them would not be able to focus on the battle, so they were a little gloating. But it was precisely this thought that made them slack off, especially the people in charge of the specific battalions and teams. They did not have much to do, and only the brigade that went ashore was relatively busier, but they still did not discover the enemy. This state of not being able to be nervous made them slower to react to unexpected situations. In the hibiscus garden, while everyone was thinking about their own matters and making arrangements, Xiaobei and the others had already arrived at Old Willow Village. Lu Feifei was on the train to Hongnong to pick them up. When she saw Xiaobei and the others, Lu Feifei, who had been on tenterhooks for the past few days, felt much more at ease. She did not believe that there were officials in the Great Tang who could contend against Xiaobei and the others. When Xiaobei got off the train, the first thing she did was give Lu Feifei a hug. But she was short, so her hug could only reach Lu Feifei's waist and not her shoulders. "Big Sister Feifei, don't worry. I've already arranged for people to protect your brother. It should be almost done by now. We plan to let him out, as long as he doesn't suffer and doesn't suffer in there. Then, when I get there, I want to see how the local officials of Jiang District explain it to me. They should be very honest. But who asked the economy to develop so quickly? All of them are starting to scheme. Xiao Bei knew what Lu Feifei was most concerned about, so he said what Lu Feifei wanted to hear the most when they met. Sure enough, a sweet smile appeared on Lu Feifei's face. She nodded and said, "Since you said it's okay, it's definitely okay. I believe that your people over there can protect my good brother. Let's go. This time there are more people from your family. My mother is here, so there are more people protecting and serving me. Let me introduce you. Come, follow me." Xiao Bei held Lu Feifei's hand and pulled her to the side of the train. After waiting for a while, her mother and Xiao Yuan's mother came down. As soon as they came down, the Jiang Wang clan's mother said to Xiao Bei, "Why are you running? The guards haven't finished yet, and you ran down. What if something happened?" "Impossible. How could something happen? Mother and aunt, let me introduce you. This is Lu Feifei from Old Willow Village. Her brother went to other places to help us sell things, so he was caught by the government office there. Big sister Feifei, this is my mother, and this is my aunt. She is Xiao Yuan's mother." Xiao Bei didn't answer his mother's words, but began to introduce them to each other. Lu Feifei naturally received the good treatment she deserved. She was pulled by the two elders to ask about this and that, and also received a lot of gifts. She couldn't hold them all by herself, so she had to let others continue to help her. Then they went to Old Willow Village. When they passed by Hongnong County, Xiao Bei made a comparison and found that the county was better than before, especially the amusement park that was going to be built as a compensation for them. She looked forward to it being built soon, so that she could have fun first. Then Xiao Bei and the other 8 people came up with a plan to use half of the profits in exchange for taxes. They were now almost at Old Willow Village. The road under their feet was many times better than the last time they were here. It was mainly because there was a flood the last time they were here, so they had to wade through the water to get there. Now it was replaced with cement roads. Big sister Feifei, how is life in the village now? Xiao Bei sat in the car and looked at the scenery outside that was slowly retreating. She asked Lu Feifei, who was sitting in front of her. "Life is much better than before. Ever since we went to Hongnong to help weave baskets, our village's reputation has grown. Many rich families would point to our Old Willow Village's baskets if they want to buy baskets, saying that they are sturdy and durable. You also know about willow trees. Even if it's just a willow branch, it can still grow if it's inserted into the ground. Therefore, we weave all kinds of things. Not only are the people from Hongnong buying them, we pile them together and send them to Luoyang by train. Our house has already changed. It's no longer the short and weak mud house you saw the last time you were here. Now, we are using bricks and cement. We found someone from Zhengzheng Construction to build it. When the people from Zhengzheng Construction saw that it was our village, they didn't charge us for the labor. They only ate the food we made, so we made a lot of delicious food for them." Lu Feifei spoke as she gestured. She appeared very excited as the smile on her face never faded. Xiao Bei nodded vigorously when she heard that. She was also happy. "That's great. Is it a 2-story building?" Since Zhengzheng Construction is here to build it, they will definitely suggest building a 2-story building for your house. Yes, 2 stories. I live on the upper floor. Standing there allows me to see very far. Now, at my house, we don't have to go out to buy things. There are people who specially transport the things to the other side of the bridge and wait for us to buy them. Lu Feifei nodded as well before she began talking about all kinds of interesting matters. Xiao Bei listened seriously and learned of the changes in the village from Lu Feifei. First of all, Old Willow Village did not suffer any losses during the disaster. In addition, they had helped to earn a lot of money in the past. At the same time, they helped to build a reputation for the willow knitting business in the village. As a result, their willow knitting business earned more money. Now, unless they organized a train to transport a box of willow knitting, they would not sell it at other places. Usually, other people would buy it and sell it at other places. Speaking of the willow knitting business, the people of Old Willow Village were indeed good at it, but not many people were willing to buy it. Even if the willow knitting business did not look very beautiful, it was fine as long as it could be used. Did the basket used to carry dung need to be very gorgeous? The reason why more people were willing to buy the willow knitting business from Old Willow Village was because this business had saved lives when they helped Hong Nongjong rebuild the village. A person went up to the top of the third floor of a restaurant and was working there. Suddenly, he accidentally fell from the top. The moment he fell, he grabbed a willow basket. In the end, he used the basket as a cushion under his body. Other than being scared and sweating, nothing happened to him. Not even a small wound was found. Then, everyone went to look at the basket. The only thing that changed the shape of the basket was that Weiwei used her feet to return to its original shape. The willow branches did not break. Everyone took turns to look at the basket and found that the willow branches used to weave the basket were very strong. The weave was very fine and the outside was very smooth. There were no burrs at all. This was really a good basket. Otherwise, how could it save a life? Everyone went to ask who made the basket. After asking, they found out that it was the people from Old Willow Village who provided it. From that moment on, Old Willow Village's willow knitting business became famous. The material was good, the workmanship was good, and it was auspicious. Just like that, as long as the people around wanted to buy a basket, they would choose Old Willow Village's products. When there was demand, there would naturally be production. The people of Old Willow Village were busy weaving all kinds of things every day. Merchants came over and waited at the bridge for the people of Old Willow Village to bring the things they wanted to sell over. They would pay the money and directly buy it. Many merchants came, but the amount of goods produced in the village was limited. Therefore, the merchants waited for a long time, but there were very few who could actually buy. When a smart merchant saw this situation, he simply stopped buying willow knitting. He found a few people to be his shop assistants and began to sell soup pancakes, noodles, wontons, and so on. The noodles were directly bought in Old Willow Village. The shredded cucumber sprinkled on top of the noodles were also bought in the village. The village's own seeds made the merchant's business very good. When the other merchants saw this, they all thought of ways. Not only did they buy things from Old Willow Village, but they also transported things that the village did not have. When the people of the village came out to sell willow knitting, they would naturally take a look at other things. Therefore, during winter, a market appeared outside Old Willow Village. Now that spring had arrived, the market became even more prosperous. Xiao Bei and the others were very happy when they heard this. As long as the village was doing well, it was happiness in their hearts. However, the two adults and their mother heard a lot of things from a story and recalled things that happened a long time ago. At that time, although the Zhang family and the Wang family could still live a normal life in Zhuangzi, it was definitely not very good. Compared to now, it was a world of difference. Later on, it was Xiao Bao and Cuckoo who helped develop it bit by bit. First, they set up a market. Then, they kept making things outside. All kinds of good things were made. Now, Sanshui County was no different from their own family. If you randomly picked a family in Zhuangzi and placed them in a normal place, they would be a local wealthy family. Whether the life of a place is good or not, you just need to see if there is a market and what is sold in the market to know. Xiao Bei, you should let the officials of each place look at the market in the place they are in charge of. Only by looking at the market can you know what the local people lack, their living habits, and so on. You don't need to check the various accounts and tax records. Because many of the markets are organized by themselves, they don't collect taxes. Xiao Bei's mother, Zhang Wangshi, thought about what had happened in the past and the current situation. She analyzed the situation and said to Xiao Bei. Xiao Bei nodded repeatedly. That's right. Don't just sit in the yamen all day. It's better to go out and walk around. A real local official should be a qualified farmer when he sees the land. When he sees the business, he should be a qualified merchant. When he sees the tools, he should be able to make them even without being asked. At the very least, he should know the principles of how to make and use tools. This way, he can truly be a good local official for the people, and not just stay in the yamen all day. I have decided. When I return, I will discuss with Uncle Emperor and let him tell us about the investigation by the Ministry of Appointments. Don't just focus on how much taxes the local officials paid this year. Sometimes it is best to exempt the taxes and give the people a chance to develop and save. Exempt them from paying taxes for 2 years. Maybe the amount of money in the local government's treasury is too little for the people to see. But after 2 years, the people will use the tax-free money to buy good tools or do business and develop. Then, the local government will naturally have money. When Zhang family heard her daughter's thorough analysis, the smile on her face became brighter. Which other family's child would know so much at such a young age? Other than Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, it seemed that she had never seen anyone like that before. Xiao Yuan, you say something too. When Xiao Yuan's mother saw that Xiao Bei spoke well, she immediately asked her son to show off. Xiao Yuan was very helpless. What's there to say? It's just that some officials always want to be promoted. For example, Sanshui County's revenue doubled this year. Then, when the Ministry of Appointments evaluated him, they gave him a high grade and he was promoted. Hence, the second official who came to Sanshui County saw that it was actually so easy to be promoted. Alright, he started to sell the things in the county. For example, there was a piece of land. He sold it at a low price. The land was originally worth 10,000 strings of coins, but he sold it for 5,000 strings of coins. Then he waited. When it was about to be evaluated, he casually made an account and turned the 2,000 strings of coins into the local government's revenue. However, he did not write that piece of land. Instead, he made a special evaluation and turned a good piece of land into a waste field. The account said that he sold it for 1,000 strings of coins. In this way, the Ministry of Appointments evaluated that Sanshui County's revenue increased this year, and the new county magistrate was also promoted. In this way, groups of county magistrates thought of ways to sell the things in the county, just to create the illusion of an increase in revenue. In fact, every promotion of an official will cause a lot of harm to the people of Sanshui County. When the people can't bear it anymore, Sanshui County will no longer be a high-grade county, but a low-grade county. Yes, that's right. Mother feels that it makes sense. Then you can tell Her Majesty that in the future, it's not about how much revenue a place has, but also the degree of consumption of local resources. Whichever official consumes the least amount of local resources and earns the most income, that official will be evaluated as high grade. Xiao Yuan's mother patted Xiao Yuan's head and praised him. Then, she also analyzed. Lu Feifei kept nodding and said, "That's right. Because of this year's flood, Hongnon County was exempted from taxes for 2 years. My father said that in these 2 years, we can save a lot of money and use it to fill up the depression in front of us. This way, we will have more land to plant willow trees. When the willow trees grow, the forest will be worth a lot of money. My father is also preparing to set up a school in the village, the Willow Weaving School. It will teach people who are willing to learn willow weaving. At the same time, the people in the village can continue to think about how to weave willow branches into more beautiful things. Willow weaving is not only a tool to be used, but also to become an art, right? In that case, your willow weaving in Old Willow Village can become a pillar industry in Hongnon County." Xiao Bei took over the conversation. Yes. Lu Feifei looked at the willow trees by the roadside and smiled happily. She said, "That's it. But if we don't get rid of the tax for the next 2 years, we have to borrow money. We need all the people in the village to pool their money to buy that large piece of low-lying land. It's like what you said just now. As an official, don't always look at the little benefits in front of you. Give the people time to accumulate, and then the people will repay the government with more taxes. It's like a chicken laying eggs. If you look at the benefits in front of you, you will eat the eggs directly. For the future, you will keep the eggs to hatch chicks. When there are more chickens, there will naturally be more eggs. Ah, Sister Feifei is so right. I want to tell Uncle Emperor to give you a reward. Let's endure it first, eat less eggs, and raise more chickens. Uncle Emperor has so much money. Why do you keep in the bank? It's better to raise chickens so that we can eat more eggs in the future. Xiao Bei's eyes were shining. He couldn't wait to fly back to the capital and tell Uncle Emperor about what he saw and heard today. Lu Feifei was embarrassed by Xiao Bei's praise. She lowered her head and said in a low voice, "I'm just chatting with you. There's no reward." Yes, chatting is different from chatting. When we chat, we can know a lot of important things in the Tang Empire directly. Because I can find Uncle Emperor. As long as I say something, Uncle Emperor will accept it. I'll think about it and ask Uncle Emperor to give you an official title. First, you will be a small official. When you learn more, I will give you an official with real power. Otherwise, if you do something wrong at the beginning, it will cause losses. Yes, just do it. Anyway, Uncle Emperor has a lot of officials. When Xiao Bei was talking, he decided to give Lu Feifei an official title. As for what it was and what grade it was, Xiao Bei didn't know now. He had to see Uncle Emperor to ask clearly. Lu Feifei was shocked. At the same time, she couldn't believe that she was going to be an official. She was still a child, so she became nervous at once. I don't know how to be an official. I don't know anything. Xiao Bei, I'm scared. Don't let me be an official. Okay? If you don't know how to be an official, you can be an official. I guess some officials are worse than you. They only know how to take the imperial examinations. When it comes to practical work, they are confused and leave it to others. Anyone can be an official like this. Listen to me. If you don't know how to do it, I'll teach you. If you don't know how to do it, you can ask my brother and sister. Xiao Bei continued to persuade her. Lu Feifei didn't refuse this time. Instead, she opened her eyes wide and looked at the things outside moving in the opposite direction as the carriage moved. She was imagining what she would do when she became an official in the future. Lu Feifei didn't wake up from her fantasy until she heard all kinds of noises coming from the market in front of Old Willow Village. She smiled and said, "If I become an official, I will fix the market first. At least, I will fix the drainage ditch. I can't pour water on the ground casually. Yes, I will do such a small thing first. I don't know how to do big things." That you're tuning in to the Echo Reads YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.